What are y'all laughing at? This city commission meeting will come to order. But before we do that, you know, there's something different about this, today, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
I believe it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Commissioner Differ, you?
Yeah, I would ask you not to put your finger on it either, Mayor, if you don't mind. I was approached a few days ago by some members of the American Cancer Society as a challenge because evidently a few folks over on the other side of Monroe Street had their photo taken with pink bras on, and I suggested, well, we can do better than that over on our side. We are very much aware of the importance of bringing awareness to breast cancer awareness. And so we're here, the five of us, and I appreciate my colleagues stepping forward, and I'm sure each one of them may want to say something, and then we will be removing these before we start business, I'm sure.
You're removing yours.
Commissioner Miller.
Commissioner.
First of all, I do want to say that this is just a small indication of the support that all of us do share on breast. It is critically important to address the issue of breast cancer for so many women in our community and also in our country. I hope all of you had a chance to see the newspaper with all of the breast cancer survivors. All of this is due to research dollars. That's what is going to solve these problems in the future. And as this is a very small token of our respect and admiration for all the people who are supportive of that effort and working so hard to solve the problem.
Well, little did I know when I got to City Hall today I would be doing this. But I'm proud and pleased to do whatever I can in the fight against breast cancer. I think like most of us, almost everybody's family has been touched by breast cancer. Somebody has. Mine has. And so whatever we can do to help find a cure, I'm all about it.
Yeah, just to add, Commissioner Mushin, you know, breast cancer, one, it doesn't just affect women. There are, in rare cases, men. And I think, as you said, we have all in some way been touched either in our immediate family or certainly friends. And breast cancer and cancer in general is indiscriminate in its attack. And so while we may look very weird, it is absolutely for the right cause, and hope folks take out their checkbooks and make a contribution today or soon this month to bring awareness to breast cancer, but cancer in general.
Speak for yourself on the weirdness piece of that. No. This is really great. As indicated, every one of us knows somebody somewhere, somehow, been touched by this awful disease. And to the extent that we here at the city can bring attention to that issue and the problems associated with it, I think, as you see, all of us are willing to take part of it. And I believe, I hope that we have indeed brought a lot more attention to it by doing this. We are very, very sincere about it. And I agree with Commissioner Gillum. If you got your checkbooks, whatever I give to the Cancer Society, I'm sure that others up here give, and we will continue to give until we eradicate this awful, awful disease. So thank you all for indulging us this evening, and now we must go and get some
before you leave, Mr. Mayor, would you please just stand so that our folks can really get a picture of this whole thing?
Bring your jacket.
Open your jacket.
Mine's open.
Double D.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
It's very telling that Commissioner Mushin is a part of this group.
This one's special. I like that one.
Don't go away.
You know, I've always said appointed officials should be seen and not heard.
That's right.
This is a good time.
I agree.
Madam City Manager, we're in order.
Would you please stand and join me in the invocation? Gracious Father, as we gather this evening for the purpose of conducting the business of our local government, we pause to acknowledge and thank you for the hint of fall in the air, the bright colors that embellish and beautify our community, and the fragrances that warm our spirits during this time of the year. We also pause as part of Breast Cancer Awareness Week to acknowledge both the survivors and the non-survivors, and of course their families who are impacted by this disease. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Are there any agenda modifications?
We have two agenda modifications, Mr. Mayor. One is removal from consent of item number 9.08, which is related to the asphalt concrete materials and milling materials. Commissioner Gillum has asked that that item be removed from consent. Also, we're adding an item, which is item number 11.2, and this is related to the interview of city attorney candidates.
Those are only two?
Those are the only two I have.
All right.
And Mayor, when we get to item 908 that's being pulled, we have a proposed amendment to that item to deal with
All
some
right.
of the issues.
We'll bring it up when we get to there. Okay? Will Angela Hendrith, Director of the Equity Workforce Development Department of the City of Tallahassee, would you join me, Angela? One of the attributes that makes this community and this government exceptional is our differences in our ability to embrace those differences. As the mayor of the City of Tallahassee, I recognize firsthand the significant role that government plays in improving the quality of life in our citizens. Being disabled should not mean being disqualified. That is, disqualified from having access to certain aspects of life. Every day, citizens throughout our community and employees in the City of Tallahassee prove they can passionately define their own destinies instead of letting life's circumstances make the determination. It is proven time and time again that life circumstances are, in fact, presented as life's opportunities to make a positive difference. And at the City of Tallahassee, we recognize that there are many employees that define their personal circumstances as strengths and a tool to enhance this government. Therefore, it is with great pleasure that I present this proclamation signifying our support of the many hardworking disabled citizens within the City of Tallahassee and throughout this community. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas, during Disability Employment Awareness Month, we reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that our great city promise extends to all our citizens by educating ourselves about the needs of people with disabilities. And whereas people with disabilities are contributing members of our community and play a key role in the economic, educational, spiritual, and social success of life in Tallahassee. Whereas employment rates for persons with disabilities have historically been the lowest of any minority in the nation, indicating a national resource that is virtually untapped. Now, therefore, I, John R. Marks III, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Tallahassee, do hereby proclaim the month of October to be Tallahassee Disability Employment Awareness Month and urge local residents to strongly support this occasion. Angela's in charge of our workforce development, so she would be the one that received this. And if you have some comments, Angela, please.
Well, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. And let me just tell you a little bit about this, proclamation. The Disability Employment Awareness Month has been going on since about 1945. And initially, this started out with the National Employ a Disabled Handicapped Person. But Congress realized that, you know what, disability has more to do with just your physical disability. And in '88, it was expanded And since that time, we have been celebrating National Disability Awareness Month for about 67 years. So it's almost ready for Social Security, I guess, huh? But the good news is that we're still recognizing this. We know that every citizen in Tallahassee makes a contribution, and we're so happy that the city has taken this time to recognize the contribution of all of our disabled employees, residents in this great city. Thank you.
With Cindy Dick, Chief of the Tallahassee Fire Department, please join me at the podium. Cindy, this is the #1 police chief.
Fire chief.
Fire chief, I'm sorry. You know, you got a badge on. The #1 fire chief in the state of Florida. Yeah. And I'm not just saying that, it's true. That wasn't just to say that because she was that before, but she got that honor. And we're so proud of her and the men and women of our fire department. It is with pleasure that I present this proclamation in recognition of Fire Prevention Week. We have a wonderful community, and it is because of our citizens and the emphasis that our safety service men and women put into responding in time of crisis. Further, the efforts that are put forward in education and outreach also prevent hazardous events from happening in our city, and it also fosters a better relationship between citizens and our firefighters. Therefore, I am pleased to present this proclamation signifying Fire Prevention Week, and that proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the City of Tallahassee is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting in our city, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally, nationally, and people are at greatest risk from fire in their homes, and whereas home fires killed more than 2,600 people in the United States in 2010, according to the latest research from the nonprofit National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to nearly 400,000 home fires. Whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire, whereas only 1/3 of Americans have both developed and practiced a home fire escape plan, and whereas 1/3 of American households who made one estimate that thought they would have at least 6 minutes before a fire in their home would become life-threatening, the time available is often less. Whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fire in half, and whereas the City of Tallahassee residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes, and whereas in 2012, Fire Prevention Week theme is have 2 ways out. Be rabbit ready. Effectively serves to remind us to develop and practice home fire escape plans during Fire Prevention Week and year-round. Therefore, I join our remarks by the power vested in me as Mayor of the City of Tallahassee to hereby proclaim October 7th through 13th Fire Prevention Week. And this is throughout the city, and I urge all the people of Tallahassee to protect their homes and their families by heeding the important safety measures of Fire Prevention Week 2012 and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Tallahassee Fire and Emergency Services. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Chief Dick.
You.
Never without words.
Never without words, but this time I'm going to defer to our Fire Marshal and Deputy Chief John Gallen, he and his staff are out there every day doing this prevention work, and I want him to explain Rabbit Ready, because it took a minute for me to get it, and I'm going to have him introduce his staff.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager, for your continued support. Rabbit Ready, that's one that we've explained. When a rabbit builds its burrow, it has 2 ways out. Not necessarily for fire, but so that it can be protected against attacks and make sure that it can stay safe. So we've used this theme, and nationally we're tying to this theme because we're encouraging you to have 2 ways out, because your primary way may be blocked in the case of a fire. So we want you to practice, plan, practice, and practice again to ensure that you're able to get out safely and your family's able to get out safely in the event of a fire and emergency. I'd like to take a minute to introduce the prevention staff. We have Lieutenant Mike Eastman, Lieutenant Mark Desavito, Lieutenant Kathy Golke, Chief Gene Sanders, hiding in the back over here, Lieutenant Graham Reed, Chief Lori Roberts, Chief Bill Ackwall, and again hiding over here is Lieutenant Mike Bellamy. We're going to be out Saturday at the Walmart near Costco from 9 until 1, and we encourage everyone to come out. We're going to be handing out some information, teaching you some ways to ensure that your home is safe, and helping you to design a safety plan and help you customize that where we can. There'll be refreshments, and again, we encourage you to come out, learn a little bit about the fire department, what we can do, and what you can do to remain safe. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much, and I hope we heed, I hope all of us understand how significant and important this is and heed these instructions by our fire safety department. Thank you so very much for being here. All right, thank you, Chief. With Richmond Abalera, local Eagle Scout, and Mrs. Altamise Barnes, Director of the Riley House Museum of African American History, please join me at the podium. As a fellow Scout, actually a former Scout, I would like to commend you on this project. Dr. Alpha Omega Campbell made such a major contribution to this community, and for you to capture, display it for all Tallahasseans and Floridians embodies what is to be a Scout and to care about the past and present of this community. I would also like to thank and recognize Ms. Altamise Barnes and your leadership at the Riley House and Museum, as well as the parents of Mr. Abalera. They're here. Come on up here. Parents got to come. For instilling such strong values that led this project to come to fruition. Now, this is a presentation, I think, and is it on you, Altamise, or this gentleman here? Go ahead. You're on.
Hello.
No.
I'm Richmond Abalera, and
You got to get close to that mic because they all want to hear you.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I completed my project on the Alpha Omega Trail with the help of Altamise Barnes and my mom. She's here today, and
This is your Scout project.
yes. This is my,
This is your Eagle Scout project.
yeah, I earned my Eagle Scout project on, I added some signs and an arbor to the trail, which was really nice addition.
Altamise.
Yeah.
What Richmond did was to take the history of Alpha Omega Camber. For many people who are not aware, the trail that is out off of Tram Road, a 1.5-mile walking trail, all of that property used to be under the ownership of Dr. Alpha Omega Camber. In fact, when you see the streets Zilla, Alpha, Omega, on and on, those were the children of Dr. Alpha Omega Camber. The Campbell Park back up in there is as well. So what Richmond did was he thought that there could be more activity on that trail, and a good way to do it was to bring in a feature that would draw people to the trail. So there are, how many markers you put up?
There's 6 small signs, and 8 total.
8 total, 2 with the large markers, and then the others are the smaller markers, but it's complete with the text, photographs, and everything. So as we walk America, move museums, this is one of those projects that's under the current national administration, Move Museum. So we encourage everyone to go out, take a look at the markers, and let's all exercise and reduce and improve our health while we enjoy history.
Thank you.
So he is now an official Eagle Scout.
All right.
Altamise. Get it. think that's your sister, right? Well, who says we're not really producing really great young men in our community and students? We want to thank Richmond Abalera for his dedication to this, which is a very, very excellent cause. And we got one of the Eagle Scout in the room, and that is Commissioner Mushton is an Eagle Scout. So you might want to, y'all might give each other the handshake or whatever y'all do in that thing. Okay? All right. With directors Dr. Kwasama, I think I said that, Boston, and Dr. Tamara Scott, as well as the members of the Tallahassee Youth for Change, please join me at the podium. Are they here? Yes, they are. As many of you know, the city of Tallahassee has long been designated a Let's Move city. Through the designation, spawned a community health initiative entitled, all right, y'all better remember this because you're going to hear a lot about this. The health initiative entitled Health by the Numbers 95210. 95210. All right. This initiative has fostered a collaborative partnership between local health providers, government, local athletic and recreational facilities, our schools, and most importantly, the citizens of our community. As an optimum example of this community cohesion, ladies and gentlemen, please receive the presentation from this very poised group of young people, the Tallahassee Youth for Change.
Good evening. On behalf of myself and Dr. Boston, as well as the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation and the COPE Coalition on Childhood Obesity Prevention Education, we would like to present to you the Jack and Jill organization, who focused on the research on childhood obesity prevention. Do you have that?
You want to introduce it first?
Yeah. So first, I can just let you know, Tallahassee Youth for Change is a grant funded by the COPE Coalition and the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation. And what we were charged with was creating initiatives that use youth to focus on childhood obesity prevention. One second. So each of the,
Is this mic on? So to add to what Dr. Scott said, we've been working with about 5 youth groups throughout the last months to train them to act as leaders in this whole movement to prevent childhood obesity. So today, as she said, you're going to hear one of the groups, and they're not only going to talk about the issue of childhood obesity, they're also going to offer some strategies for approach to our dear mayor and city commissioners. So we will begin.
thank you, Guy. Not yet.
So the activities that these young people have been involved in include some of these and others, but they include nutrition and leadership education, physical activity education, public speaking education and practice, as well as a strategy called Photo Voice. And you're going to get a chance to see Photo Voice today if you've never seen it before. They also are charged to come up with ideas or policy approaches and community presentations to put childhood obesity and child health and wellness on the agendas throughout our community. Another part of this project is that these young people will present at the 2nd Annual Youth Symposium on Food and Hunger, which will take place on October the 20th, which is a Saturday, so mark your calendars, from 2 to 5. And at that event, you will see almost 9 youth groups throughout the city of Tallahassee working on the issue of food, hunger, and child health and wellness, talk about their work, and talk about what they think are the next steps forward. So please come, please put that on your calendar, and I know our mayor will be there to welcome the group. So let's get the young people to start.
Dr. Scott mentioned the COPE Coalition, and the COPE Coalition has a number of action steps, and these young people are going to address most of these action steps.
So now we will turn it over to our youth. What they found were 3 main areas of focus, including food choices. So we'll bring them up and let them talk about each of the areas. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Deja Jackson. I'm in 7th grade and I attend Deer Lake Middle School. And what you see here is brownie mix and an apple. And at that particular time, I had to make the choice between an unhealthy snack and a healthy one. I ended up choosing the apple because I had gone to the seminar about being healthy. I want to ask you why you think Wendy's hamburgers cost less than the salads. They don't necessarily care about your health, they care about making money. So make the better choice and take the initiative and be healthy.
I sit down.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Jones. I'm in 12th grade at McClay, and I'd like to talk to you about this Frito truck. I was going to get my hair done, which I need to touch up now, but beyond the point. What I see in this picture is a Frito truck delivering chips to Dollar Tree, and really it's supply and demand. There is more of a supply for chips and junky foods than there is for vegetables and maybe healthier choices like hummus, and it just kind of hurts. And I'm here to ask, why does a small bag of chips like Doritos cost more than maybe a mixed tossed salad, like one of those small ones you can take in your back pocket, or some apple slices? I'm just here to pose that question.
So the next area is physical activity, and a number of the children took photos that related to movement.
Hello everybody, I'm David Jackson. I'm a 9th grader at Lincoln High School, and I did mine on a basketball court. I think that we should open more community centers with basketball goals such as these so that we can encourage kids to have a healthier lifestyle by playing sports such as basketball, but that's my personal sport. So kids could play other sports such as volleyball, pool, and table hockey at those community centers. Thank you.
So the next category that came up was this really important one, parental involvement.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maya King. I'm a sophomore at McClay, and my picture is of my dad. I guess I get to brag on him a little bit for a change today. But he's woodworking, and what he's actually doing is he's like cutting wood for me for a locker shelf before school started. And what I said was, it was kind of a way, I guess, you know, your parents always want you to be organized, and that's exactly what he was doing there. So it definitely shows that he cares about my education and also what I do outside of school to make sure that everything's in order, because making the full circle. So I think that we just need parental involvement in everything, because kids, especially teenagers, they see their parents' example and then they want to do what they do. So if you have a parent that eats healthy, I think you probably will also have a kid who eats healthy. So thank you.
One done.
This is the whole group. There were more than these, and this is the whole group. And if you look at that group, you'll see that it's an intergenerational presence there. We have grandmothers, we have parents, as well as the young people. And we're finding when we combine that combination, we have a better outcome. We have more involvement from the young people and more enthusiastic involvement from the young people. And these are all of the names of the young people that participated in this Tallahassee Youth for Change project.
So again, we thank you for allowing us to come and present just some issues about childhood obesity and some strategies that these youth came up with. And again, the Youth Symposium is October 20th at 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock at the Southside Arts Complex on South Monroe. So we look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you. That certainly is a wonderful presentation and a way to address an issue that we all need to be concerned about, and that is childhood obesity. But we also need to be concerned about adult obesity as well. And I want all of you to be mindful of our 95210 program, 95210 program, and we can get you information. I'm going to tease you if you want the information with regards to that. We have it. It's a wonderful program, a great program that we have initiated here with other partners here in the city of Tallahassee. So I want to thank those young people for putting on that presentation. Thank you so very much. Reese Gold, Director of Utility Business Customer Service Department, Matt Mathern, Carlos Moran, Carlos Moran, Sandra Manning, Pat Jimenez, McCrae, and please join me at the podium. And all the Okay. Okay. All right. Come on. Wow. What you are seeing coming up here is the members of the #1 electric utility, public utility in the United States.
Right.
All right. I mean, that really is a distinction that we all are proud of, because we've done and they have done such a wonderful job in making sure that the electric service in this community is the most effective, efficient, and least costly that it can be. And I can't say much more than I got a script here, but I want to say more than just thank you all for the hard work and dedication that you all have to our citizens in our utility department, because that's one of our primary goals, is to make sure that we provide the kind of services to our citizens, and especially electric service, that we can. And you have proven to be effective, efficient in doing that for our citizens. And I know a little bit about this because in prior life, I was on the Public Service Commission. And I used to regulate our electric utilities. And I know that you all are doing the kind of job that really is to be commended. You really are. Because I've seen others that they're not as effective and efficient as we are. So thank you very much. Safe utility service. Now, the significance of Customer Service Week is to raise awareness of the vital role that frontline employees play in businesses and governments. As mayor and on behalf of the city of Tallahassee, I would like to present this proclamation celebrating Customer Service Week, which is what we're all about, and commend the Utilities Department and all departments for the positive service that is provided to citizens on behalf of the city of Tallahassee. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the mission of the city of Tallahassee is to provide excellent services and facilities to support a high quality of life for our community, and whereas 2012 marks the city of Tallahassee's 110th year of providing reliable utility services to its citizens, and whereas today customers desire more information about their utility service, expect greater choices, and want to know about ways to save money, and whereas the city of Tallahassee employees deliver professional and courteous service to more than 500,000 citizen contacts each year, and whereas this kind of commitment to service leads to customer satisfaction and better quality of life in Tallahassee, and whereas the United States Congress first recognized National Customer Service Week in 1992 and requested the President to issue a proclamation in observance of this week, now therefore I, John Marks, by the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Tallahassee, do hereby proclaim the week of October 1st through 5th, 2012 as Customer Service Week, and call upon the community and partner organizations to celebrate with the appropriate ceremonies to acknowledge these efforts. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. Thank you for your leadership and support. It's my pleasure to be joined by just some of the many utility representatives that provide excellent customer service to our citizens every day. The Mayor mentioned that customer service is, in fact, our business. It's something that we take great pride in. We're able to serve our neighbors. This is part of our community. We live in our community. We're serving our neighbors, and we're proud to do it, whether we're picking up the garbage, which isn't always a fun thing to do, or whether we're restoring electric outages in probably inclement weather, or breaking or repairing broken water pipes. It's something that we take great pride in, and we're happy to serve our customers. So thank you very much.
There's more. Rob McGarrett, General Manager of the city's electric utilities, Dwayne Colvin, Chris Diebold, Charles Smith, Dean Thompson, David Crum, Ken Roberts, Clarence Wiggins, Ashley McDuffie, and Steve Dodson. Please join me. Are they already up here?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. As mayor, I am proud to say that daily we meet and exceed expectation with regards to the city department functions. It gives me great pleasure today to further promote that assertion by recognizing our city electric utilities department during Public Power Week. Despite the tough factors that can negatively affect the efficiency of public power sources, public power in the city of Tallahassee remains strong. As a local government, I am confident that our commitment to providing affordable, reliable, and environmentally responsible electricity to our communities can continue to be upheld. To show appreciation to our local utility, as mayor and on behalf of the city of Tallahassee and our city commission, I would like to present this proclamation to you and commend you all for continuing to make Tallahassee better through the service that is provided through our local electric utility. And that proclamation reads as follows. Whereas we, the citizens of Tallahassee, place a high value on local operation and control of essential community services, and whereas we own and operate an award-winning municipal electric utility, and as customers and owners of our electric utility have a direct say through our locally elected officials in the City of Tallahassee Electric Utilities operations and policies, and whereas the City of Tallahassee Electric Utility provides our community with reliable, efficient, and cost-effective electricity, employing advanced technology and sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service, and whereas the City of Tallahassee has been recognized as the #1 public utility in America, and its A.B. Hopkins generating plant has been named one of the top 6 gas-fired electric generating plants in the world. And whereas the City of Tallahassee Electric Utility is a valuable community asset that contributes substantially to the high quality of life in our community, providing a wide range of Energy Smart Plus programs, interactive tools, and advanced technology to help customers save energy, water, and most importantly, money. And whereas the City of Tallahassee Electric Utility is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operations provides customer protections, flexibility in operations while protecting our resources and our environment. Now, therefore, I, John R. Marks III, on behalf of the Tallahassee City Commission, join 2,000 other public power systems to celebrate public power and to recognize the city for ensuring the best customer service, clean and reliable energy, and a sustainable future. Further, I hereby proclaim the week of October 7th through 13th, 2012 as the 26th annual Public Power Week, and honor the City of Tallahassee Electric Utility for its dedication to the community since 1902 and to help its customers, employees, policymakers become more aware of their contributions and value. This is our electric utility department. Rob McGarrett, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners and Madam Manager. I'm proud to be up here with just a small group of the employees that serve our customers on a day-to-day basis, both within electric and all the utilities. We're fortunate to have a strong team of professionals that are committed to the mission of serving our customers. This recognition helps bolster the work they do every day, and it is very special to us this year with being named the #1 public utility in America. We appreciate the leadership and support that all of you all give us on a day-to-day basis.
And there's more. Will Mike Tadros, Director of the city's Natural Gas Department, and staff please join me, the staff at the podium. As the capital of Florida, the city of Tallahassee holds a leadership position in environmental stewardship. This is majorly attributed to the city's effective use of natural gas. Aggressive environmental cognizance and the utilization of natural gas have led the city of Tallahassee to several awards honoring our use of natural gas and our green practices. A few of those awards are the National Resource Defense Council designated the city of Tallahassee as one of its smarter cities. Only a total of 45 cities were selected by the NRDC. Additionally, we are proud of being the first gold certified green city in the state of Florida, and we will be the first platinum. Where's Cynthia? Cynthia, stand up. Cynthia Barber is the one that helps us in this area. She's wonderful. Are we going platinum soon? We're certainly going to try and go platinum, be the first platinum city, green city in the state of Florida. We were the first gold certified green city in the state, and all due to our staff, led by Cynthia Barber, who's been recognized, by the way, by the President of the United States for what she has done in this area. And that shows you exactly what we mean and what we're committed to in this community to make sure we have a green, safe, and sustainable community. It is with pleasure that as your mayor and on behalf of the city of Tallahassee that I present this proclamation celebrating Public Gas Week and convey our appreciation for the hard work of each employee in the natural gas department. And that proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the citizens of the city of Tallahassee are fortunate to operate community-owned and locally controlled natural gas utilities, and whereas Tallahassee citizens are both consumers and owners of a municipal natural gas system, and as such have a direct say in utility operations and policies, and whereas natural gas is a cost-effective and environmentally friendly fuel which helps produce our electricity and is a direct use fuel for our citizens, whereas natural gas plays a significant role in keeping Tallahassee in the national forefront as a certified green city, and whereas community-owned public natural gas systems provide homes, businesses, and federal and state and local government agencies with reliable, efficient, and cost-effective natural gas, and whereas that customer ownership ensures the most cost-effective competition in the utility industry, which benefits natural gas customers everywhere and results in sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service at the lowest possible costs and lowest possible rates, whereas the city of Tallahassee natural gas utility employees serve over 28,000 natural gas customers in the city of Tallahassee, Leon, Wakulla, and Gaston counties. They do this with pride and in the best tradition of public service. Whereas the city of Tallahassee natural gas utility continues to be a leader in customer growth in the state of Florida. Now, therefore, I, John R. Marks, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tallahassee, join other communities throughout the nation to celebrate the benefits of a public natural gas utility, and I hereby proclaim the week of October 7th through 13th, 2012, as Public Natural Gas Week in the city of Tallahassee, and honor the city of Tallahassee's natural gas utility, its customer owners, and its employees who work together to provide the best possible natural gas service. Mike Tadros, the head of this department, please come forward.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, I'm really honored to accept this proclamation on behalf of the City of Tallahassee's gas utility employees who gave their best day after day. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you some exciting news for the gas utility. As you're all aware, all gas system in the United States has to comply with the rules and regulations set by the federal government in transporting natural gas from the wellhead to the burner tip. Here in the state of Florida, this rule is enforced by the Florida Public Service Commission, where they conduct an annual safety audit every year to ensure that every aspect of the gas distribution system in the city of Tallahassee meets these rules and regulations. Mr. Mayor and Commission, this year And for the third consecutive year, the city of Tallahassee has not received a single violation on the transportation and operating the gas system. This is true testament. This is truly a testament to the dedication and hard work for all the men and women that make up the gas utility. I want to express my sincere gratitude to all the employees that I work with every day, the gas utility that a part of the #1 public utility in America. In closing, I say thank you to the Mayor, City Commission, Madam Manager, appointed official, and all the executive team for their continued support throughout the year. You have proven through your actions that you realize the benefit of offering our customers natural gas as an alternative source of energy, that its production at all-time high and its cost at all-time low. Thank you very much.
I want to thank our Public Utilities Department, all the utilities that serve our customers. You have proven, and you've proven over and over again, that you are the best. And our citizens really, I know our citizens really appreciate what you are doing, so thank you again, and let's keep up the work. Thank you so much. And I know our commissioners will say the same thing. They believe in you as well. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. While they're sitting down, because I think we got another sizable group coming up. With the 2012 Ricketts High School Scholarship Program recipients, Erica Jones, Zamoria Johnson, and Hugh Nguyen, please join me at the podium. Are they here? Okay. As a part of its commitment to the city's South Side, the City of Tallahassee Ricketts High School Scholarship Program has funded college scholarships for approximately 60 graduates of Ricketts High School since its inception in 1991. The awards allow the city to recognize outstanding local students while also providing an incentive for Ricketts students to give back to their high school and to serve the Tallahassee community through the volunteer work associated with the scholarship. Participants receive up to $1,000 per semester contingent upon completion of volunteer hours and compliance with scholarship eligibility requirements. While the city provides the funds for the scholarship program, the students are selected by Ricketts High School staff, and all recipients demonstrate outstanding leadership characteristics. Erica Jones is a member of the National Honor Society and participated in several service projects while in school. She is also a graduate of the International Baccalaureate program at Ricketts. She works at the Palmer Monroe Teen Center, started by our own Commissioner Gillum, as a recreational aide, and is studying nursing at Florida A&M University with aspirations of becoming a nurse anesthetist. Zamoria Johnson is the founder of Ricketts High School's prestigious Young Thinkers, an all-girl mentoring program aimed at teaching self-esteem and leadership skills. She is also a graduate of the International Baccalaureate program and served as class president and secretary in the Student Government Association. Additionally, she won Leon County's Best and Brightest in Business Award and was the first recipient of the Spirit of the Best and Brightest in Leon County, which is given to an individual who excels academically and in volunteer service. Zamoria has also received service leadership awards from President George W. Bush and President Barack Obama, and is currently studying pharmacy at Florida A&M University. Hugh Nguyen was award-winning wrestler at Ricketts High School during his entire 4 years in high school. He was recognized as the most dedicated wrestler on the Ricketts High School wrestling team and also named Best Personality in the senior class. He will begin his studies at Tallahassee Community College in the spring and would like to pursue a career in wellness and fitness. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please give a round of applause to these wonderful, wonderful. We have some others. Leanne?
Thank you, Mayor. With us today to recognize these students, we have Dr. Marvin Henderson, the Assistant Superintendent of Leon County Schools. We have Dr. Michelle Gale, who is the former principal at Rickers High School and now a divisional director with Leon County Schools. And we have Mr. Patrick Wright, who is the assistant principal at Rickers High School.
It says on here, allow recipients to make brief remarks.
All right.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
I'm Hugh Nguyen, and I'm really grateful for this scholarship right now. And my plans for the 75 hours I have to do a year is either go back and help some kids on the south side so they could grow up with a positive influence and everything. And yeah, that's my plans for the scholarship.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Erica Jones. I thank God for being here, and I just want to say I thank you, commissioners, manager, mayor, people of Tallahassee for this opportunity, for allowing me to continue succeeding in my education and my plans for volunteering. My community service hours are to go back to Rickers High School and work with the students who are still at the school.
Awesome.
Good afternoon. I am Zemoria Johnson, again a proud graduate of James S. Rickers High School. I would like to thank the mayor as well as the commissioners and the city manager, as well as our lovely former principal, Dr. Michelle Gale. She's been influential. And again, I thank the city for allowing me to continue my education. So thank you all.
We need to have proclamations for each one, but I don't think we have them today. I want to just thank you all for being what you are. Good students, good people, and you make our community even better by what you do on their behalf. So it's just hard. I'm kind of joking. We always talk about we always have this tendency to talk about those who don't do well in our community. But we don't often get an opportunity to recognize those who do very, very well. And we have to do a lot more of that, and we will. And with students like these three individuals, we can do it, and we will continue to do it. And I'm so proud the city of Tallahassee is involved in this effort. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, the picture. All right. This young lady, come on, get a kid, and she's just kneeling down trying to get the picture. All right, thank you all so much. That took a little while to get through, but it was well worth it. And so, commissioners, we can move on. Madam City Manager.
The next item, Mr. Mayor, is item number 7.01, which is approval of the 2013 audit work plan. And I see that Chairman Paul Brown is here with the audit committee. And Sam, are you making any comments on this? Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager, I'm Paul Brown. I'm the current chairman of the City of Tallahassee's Audit Committee. At our September 26th meeting, the Audit Committee discussed and reviewed the 2013 audit work plan developed by the Office of the City Auditor. We discussed that plan, and that plan was approved at that meeting, and now we are bringing it forward to for the Commission to make final approval of that work plan.
Any questions, comments? I've reviewed it. I think it's a good plan, and we thank you for the hard work and the volunteering and to do this, because it's not an easy thing to do. We know that.
Thank you, Mayor.
So thank you very much. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and second. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. It passes unanimously. Next item.
Next item is item number 8, which is citizen input on agenda items.
Mayor, we do have several speakers this evening. The first is Curtis Baines. He will be speaking to item 13.03.
1303.
And as he begins his remarks, I'll ask speakers to give their name and address for the record and remind them that they have 3 minutes, and when there are 30 seconds remaining, their green light will turn amber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Curtis Baines, 1323 East Tennessee Street. I want to take just a moment to address item 1303, which I think was presented at the last meeting as a list of projects for presentation to the Sales Tax Committee. And I was hoping that we could take a look at that. There's like $633 million or $589 million, depending upon whether you use the lower end or the higher end. But, you know, out of $700 million, which I believe is what the Sales Tax Committee is talking about, it seems it would be helpful to them a lot if you would try to identify some of those projects here that are more critical for your interest and your policy objectives. If the 10% rule holds with the current Blueprint 2000, you're only going to have about $70 million for the city's projects on this, and everything else has got to come out of the blueprint, if I understand it correctly. So I would urge you to take a look at this list during your discussions and think in terms of 3 lists, actually, an A, B, and C list. Those that the A list being those things you just absolutely have to have or must have. Those, and then the B list are those things that you would like to have, and then everything else goes into the C list and is just going to have to be thrown into the pot with all the other projects they're going to have to take a look at, because I haven't added up all of the projects they're looking at, but there's got to be probably $2 billion worth of projects in there, and you know, they're going to need some help. And if you can make your preferences known a little more clearly than just a list of $600 million worth of projects, it might be helpful to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's something that we do intend to do. We do have a list, A, B, C list, and we will look at that. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Dr. Irwin Jackson, also on 13.03. He will be followed by John Pleskow.
Yes, Commissioner, I think I can certainly get done within 3 minutes. I do have 2 points. One is I would really like to see the sales tax extension be passed. I think one of the concerns, I was looking at the list of projects, it was listed a convention center. I don't know, but I think that's what used to be called the Performing Arts Center.
No.
Now, is that true or is that wrong?
That's not correct.
That's not correct. I'm glad to hear that. So as we stand today, they're talking, and I need to have more information then, I apologize for that. The convention center, even if it's not the Performing Arts Center, I'm concerned about a convention center. Because we look at, not too long ago, we had an interest in a civic center. And we figured out that we can't afford it. And it baffles me why we think we can afford a convention center today if we couldn't afford a civic center yesterday. I would put that on the A, B, C, D, the E, F, or G list. A second thing is Midtown, the Midtown placement, or Midtown placemaking. They talk about $22 million. Well, as a small business owner, I'm concerned when we have small businesses that are struggling, but we're going to tax them to raise money to give and support a area of town, Midtown, which is doing great. When I go over there, it looks like the businesses, you don't have a lot of dilapidated buildings. You try to buy a piece of property over there, it's very expensive. I certainly think that I would put this Midtown placement, and I give the private sector and the folks that own property over there a great deal of compliments for what they've done. I think a $22 million aid to that group from the city is just a misplacement of our money. Let's put it down by GF or wherever. Thank you very much.
Next speaker.
Irwin Jackson, 1341 Jackson Bluff, sorry.
Thank you. The next speaker is John Pleskow, also on 13.03. He'll be followed by Bill Lessman.
Somebody help him.
No, help Mr. There you go. See the microphone right? Pull it down, sir.
I got it.
You got it?
I'm used to coming at it from a different angle. Okay. John Pleskow, 1504 Belmont Trace.
I'm also here to discuss 13.03, which seems to be a popular item. I'd like to support any money that you can put towards improving the bus system. Y'all have previously received an email from me on that issue. Obviously, the fleet expansion needs to be done to get the headways down, and you would also need corresponding facilities to service those buses. My only concern on this is, even if everything goes through as, perfectly, I think we're looking at, what, 2015 before any of that money would be seen?
Probably.
Is that about right?
Close, that's about right, yes.
Okay. Meanwhile, the bus system still needs improving. This weekend, I can give you a perfect example. I'm participating in a fundraiser. I had to plan, I planned 2 hours ahead to be there. And it's good I did, because the bus I counted on didn't show. The reliability of the system is not there. And unless we can get the reliability better or the headways lower, I don't think you're going to see a lot of people leaving their cars for the buses. I know you received an email today from Sue Ellen Smith, who in fact has bought a car because she got frustrated with a commute that's 40 minutes longer by bus. How do you expect and that's one way, so figure that's 80 minutes a day. Do a lot of people have the luxury to waste that much time? You'll be hearing more from me, on this issue, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next is Bill Lessman. He's speaking on item 1306. He'll be followed by Mark Mitchell.
On the same item?
Mr. Mitchell's on 908.
Oh, okay, I see. Go ahead. Sir.
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, thank you. I am Bill Lessman, 7114 Midland Pass. I'm speaking to you as the chair of the General Employees Pension Advisory Committee, which is established under ordinance as the liaison between the plan participants and the sinking fund and the commission. I attended a meeting, September 25th, commission meeting, where the City Commission entertained changes to the General Employees Pension Fund. The recommended change was a change in the employee contribution for future employees. What happened at that meeting was a complete change in the benefits package. I have sent you all a letter kind of summarizing our issues on that. We were shocked because of the very change in the benefits. Police and fire had a change in the employee contribution. General employees had a change in benefits. What we're hoping is that you will allow the General Employees Pension Advisory Committee to have some input with you, as we're required to. We prefer the option recommended by staff to make the contribution adjustments rather than a benefit adjustment. One of the consequences of the benefit adjustment, as I ran a table and included it in my letter, is essentially you have eliminated the option of early retirement through the summation of all the different changes. We did not have an opportunity for input, and we certainly request that we have some opportunity for input. And I just want to make sure and follow up that you all received the letter, and hopefully you will allow us some comment on this when it comes up for ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Mark Mitchell on item 9.08, followed by Tom Gilday on the same item, 9.08.
How y'all doing? Mark Mitchell, 1819 Dumont Drive. Here to discuss the asphalt contract that was bid a while back. Capital Asphalt was the low bidder on it. I was hoping that I would be coming to this commission meeting to be awarded the project. Unfortunately, because of staff, that's not going to happen. We've gone down this road before. The first time I was able to bid it was in 2011, and I had to go through some serious rigmarole to make that happen. As you know, they wrote specifications in the bid package to exclude me from it. And then when they finally changed that, they changed the local preference policy to put someone in Gadsden County on the same level as me. After that happened and they rebid it again, I decided that I was not in my best interest to bid that contract because the city was taking so many efforts to, I guess, do business with another contractor. Lo and behold, that contractor was the low bidder on that project at a price that was 10% higher than the first price he had turned in. Since then, a year has gone by. That was a one-year contract. I've done my best to give the city the best possible price that I could to receive this contract. I did that. As I told you, we were the low bidder. The city has now put my prices out on the street and not awarded me the contract. And people from Public Works are going to ask you to rebid that contract with different, I guess, award basis than what was on this contract that just bid. The problem with that is before this project bid, there was a 2-hour-long pre-bid conference in which Mike Shiner and everybody else involved went through the bid package, the award basis, and the specifications page by page by page. Not only that, after the pre-bid conference, they issued an addendum. In that addendum, they addressed every single question that was in that pre-bid. Then they bid it. Once again, we were the low bidder. But we're not going to award. We're going to a canceled bid, and now to what they want to do is rebid the contract with my prices already out on the street for my competition to see. Obviously, I don't think it's fair. I believe the cancellation should be reversed, and the project should be awarded to Capital Asphalt, the low bidder. In the meantime, they're wanting to extend PV's contract, which is actually, I guess, over time. It's not, there is no more contract, but yet they want to extend his contract without getting other prices from other vendors. I have already written them a letter saying I will honor my low bid price for any month-to-month paving or asphalt supply you want to do. They have not accepted that. Instead, here's an example. My price for in-place asphalt was $96.86. They want you to pay.
Expired.
Do I have to follow the rules if they don't?
Just wrap it up for us, please.
Okay.
Got other speakers, that's why we're here.
I understand. So their price is $104 a ton. So y'all are going to pay a premium on a month-to-month basis until this thing is rebid, which I don't believe it should be rebid. I've already turned you in an honest low bid price for the same award basis that this contract has been bid on for the last half a dozen times it's been bid. The last 2 times PV has gotten this contract, it has been on this exact same award basis. So now that PV doesn't have this contract, why is it a problem?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Tom Gilday, and this is the last speaker I have at this portion of the meeting, Mayor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Tom Gilday, represent Capital Asphalt in this matter. Mr. Mitchell did a pretty good job of describing what our concerns are, and we are concerned. Make no mistake that there is a pattern of activity which suggests a preference for one bidder over another. We don't think that's in Capital Asphalt's interest, certainly not in the city's interest. And what it does is it undermines the competitive bidding process. If you know that the bids are not going to be manipulated, and if you make it a good bid, it's not going to be accepted, what is the benefit of giving the city your best price? One other comment I would make to follow up on what Mark said. It is interesting to us that in the posture that the city currently is, when it does no longer has a contract for asphalt because the last one has expired, that a recommended option comes out that the city only negotiate with one bidder, and that is PV, when the city could go to any provider of asphalt and purchase asphalt as it needs it and other materials on an basis until they get a new contract awarded. It's just one more indication that it seems that the city only wants to do business with one vendor when it has the opportunity currently to do it with Capital Asphalt or any other vendor, and it can get the best price that it can get. As Mr. Mitchell said, he's already offered to do business with the city on this interim basis at the price that he bid, which was lower than any other bidder. Yet the city didn't even seem to consider that option. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
That's the last speaker at this time.
All right. Thank you all very much. We will obviously take those into consideration when we get those items, when we have a discussion of those items. Next matter. Next item. If you want to speak, sir.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was possible if anybody have a few minutes of your time, 3 minutes or whatever.
You have to, if you would go sign up. What we're on now are individuals who want to speak on items that are on our agenda now. There is a period of time afterwards where individuals, unagended speakers, can speak on anything they want to. So I don't know what your preference is.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll ask Matt Lutz, our Records Division Director, to get the proper form to the gentleman, and then he can speak to him about
go see this gentleman back here.
His topic is.
Let's go to the next item.
We are on consent, Mr. Mayor, and that is item number 9, but Commissioner Gillum has pulled the item that is being discussed right now. The last 2 speakers have spoken on, which is item number 9.08.
All right. Well, that item 9.08 has been pulled from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion on the remainder?
Move consent.
All right. With that exception, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right. I think we're now on the portions of the meeting related to consent items that have been pulled. Commissioner Gillum.
Yes, I did pull, Mr. Menendez, if you could come to the podium. I did pull item 9.08, and we've already heard some comments made tonight about this item. What I'd like for you to do for the benefit of the commission is please explain the reason for your department deciding to rebid this contract, and then I've got some other questions after you've brought us up to speed.
Certainly. We did put the bid notice out for the asphalt contract and the milling contract. When we opened those bids, the basis of bids for the asphalt contract was based on two items of 26. 2 specific items of 26, which are the more common items that we use. And it's Capital Asphalt did come in as being the low bidder in that bid. Of their 24 items, what we did find is that when we analyzed them, we did not have quantities listed with them. We just asked for a flat-out bid price associated with those individual items. And these are items such as delivery of asphalt after hours and manufacturing asphalt after hours. When we looked at those other items, we did find that there was a significant difference in prices between the apparent low bidder and the actual bid, the bid from the different firms. Some of those, of the 26 items, for example, in a couple of instances, we had 11 and 12 of those items, 11 items in one case, 12 items in the other, that were at least 125% over the cost of the apparent low bidder in those items. We found that to be unbalanced. We also dug a little deeper and found that some of the descriptions in those items were not clear. Even though we did go through a bid process, a pre-bid conference, we found that the description of those items were not clear, and there was apparently some confusion, because in some instances we found bids coming in that were 100 or 10 times, in one case 10 times what the apparent low bidder would have been for that particular item, and in another instance it was 23 times what the low bid would have been for that item. So with that, we felt when we extended those prices and applied them to what we anticipated the annual cost to be, we found that it would be we would be paying approximately a $500,000 premium on the materials contract, and we would have been paying a $70,000 premium on the milling contract. So with that in mind, we felt that we needed to rescind the bids and change the bid items so that we can get better explanation, so that everybody's on the same page and we get more parity across the board between the bids.
So of the 26 bid items that were in the package, you all segregated 2 of them out, I assume, presumably because they are the most significant and maybe the largest cost drivers. Why? Is that the reason you?
That is typically, those are the ones that are more typically used from on our daily basis, on our ongoing basis, and historically, that's what we've done. We've still listed the items, but we based the basis of the bid was based on those 2 items.
But historically, you all have not seen a problem when you've pulled out these 2 significant bid items from the consideration with regard to costs. I mean, just so that I understand it correctly, the 2 items that you all segregate as significant, that you take into consideration when you determine who's the lowest bidder, are the same 2 items that you have traditionally pulled out to determine the lowest responsible bidder.
Yes.
So, I mean, my complication with it, and I understand, you know, your summary that we'd be paying, I guess, $500,000 premium over what the lowest bid is. Based on what we discussed earlier, of the 3 responsive bidders, 2 of them had a similar makeup with regard to their 26 items as did the lowest responsive bidder. And the only one of the 3 that did not have similar financial responses on the 26 items is the one who currently does the work for the city. So if that's the case, that 2 of 3 responded sort of in line with each other, why was the flag raised? Was it raised by one of the respondents? Who raised the flag that maybe there was some confusion about what you were asking for in this bid?
That was the interpretation that we made in our review, because we saw.
So none of the responders did? None of the responders raised a flag?
Not formally. Not formally. We had some informal conversations as recently as in the hallway here, where it was apparent that the low bidder was indicating to me that one of the reasons for the high price of a certain item was because they had to include startup costs for their asphalt plant, for example, after hours. And understandable, we understand that. However, the way the item was written in that particular case, the way the item was or the agenda of the bid item was written, was that they would have to absorb the startup costs for that asphalt plant within that item. Well, and that is one of the reasons that we said, well, there's apparently some confusion associated with this. We wanted to go back and redo that so that the asphalt startup costs are actually a separate item, so that if we had to buy a ton of asphalt after hours, we wouldn't absorb, we would absorb going the way that it was bid. If we went that route, we would have had to absorb that entire ton, the startup cost of that plant and the cost of that ton, whether it was 1 ton that was purchased or 60 tons that were purchased.
But in the pre-conference, was there any confusion about these? Were there any questions raised about the items you're now identifying, which, in my opinion, are all post hoc? I mean, this is after bids have been opened. This is after you all have surmised. I mean, you're trying to make sense of some numbers. A little bit unfair in a bidding process, and then that's just my opinion. But were there questions raised during the pre-bid two-hour meeting, or however long it was, with regard to the items that you're now raising as possibly confusing?
Not anything that was not answered in the response, and nothing along this lines. Mike Shiner was in attendance at the pre-bid. He is our operations service division manager. But no, we did not see any at that point.
I'll stop in case there are other questions.
Commissioner?
Could you possibly explain to us why you might need a ton of asphalt after hours?
we actually do quite a bit of work, whether it be associated with utilities, emergency.
But is that unanticipated? To me, if they are supplying the asphalt for a job, I can see how you might be working at night. But what I hear you saying is that they would have to start up their operations, and that implies an unexpected situation, at least to me, hearing you talk about it. So is that not the case? I mean, if you were doing work you are planning ahead to do this work at night, everyone knows that. So there shouldn't be a startup cost. So I'm interested that there's so much attention that's being paid to what seems to be an unanticipated situation.
Well, if that's the case, that if it was anticipated in the bid form, the prices wouldn't have been as high as they were for that particular item. They would have been more in line with the regular cost of the asphalt.
Commissioners, may I add something, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
I would like to request that the commission allow me to review this because I'm not comfortable with what I'm hearing. So I'd just like to take. I don't think any of us are. Yeah, I'd like to just take a look at it and understand what the issues are a little bit better and have a recommendation to come back to you on the 24th.
What I would like for you to also look at, because what I understand is happening, I guess you would call it our bid sheet. Our bid sheet is not consistent, or there are problems with the bid sheet itself in understanding the bid sheet, and we need to clarify it or make a determination as to what should be on that bid sheet so everybody would be on the same page. Mm-hmm. That's the way I understand this, and apparently it has worked in the past pretty well, but it worked for whatever reason.
Right.
But it's not.
We've made a couple of changes. This asphalt and milling issue is one that has plagued us for a while, as you know.
I know.
But I'm not satisfied with what I'm hearing right now.
I am not either. I don't think any of it. I'm not. Commissioner Gillum?
Yeah, just additionally, if we could, in the meantime, receive the long forms that show these price differentials that you've identified. And Madam Manager, I don't think any of us want to pay more than what we would have to. But
right.
If the practice has been that these are the two categories that are considered when we're determining if a bid is responsive, to me it does not feel in any way fair to open those bids and then go back and say, oh, we should consider some other factors in this. So I'd like to see the long form responses in between time before bringing this back with a recommendation. Awesome.
I think it's more than appropriate that I like the city manager's request. I think it's more than appropriate that we take a look at this and see if we can straighten this thing out. Commissioner Ziffer?
One quick question. The two elements that the original bid was based upon, the remaining whatever number that was, 11 or whatever it was, those were additional amounts, but that wasn't part of what the actual bid process was, correct?
They were in part of the bid process. They were not, the basis of award was not based on those other items.
So my question is, and I'm just curious, and I don't know if this is appropriate, but is it appropriate to go back to the capital asphalt, because I guess they had the lowest bid on the two items, to ask if there's any room for them to maneuver on the other 11 to see if perhaps
24.
Other 24, excuse me, to see if perhaps they would come back in line? Because I feel really uncomfortable about this also. We put out a bid based upon two things, and they were the clear. Now, maybe there's some movement for them. Have we even addressed that, tried it, talked to them?
That's what you
no, we.
That's what she said.
Commissioner, we do have a specific provision in our invitation for bids that allows the successful bidder, which they would be considered at this point, to improve their bid to make it more favorable to the city. So I believe under that provision, you could have those discussions.
And that's what you're going to be.
That's what the manager's going to do.
I'm supportive of
that. We're going to, in essence, defer any, defer any action on this item. Allow the city manager to get with the parties and the city attorney's office to see if we can do something that would be acceptable to everybody, okay? Thank you, Gabe. Next item.
Mayor, it's not relevant at this point, but I promised some folks I would tell you we had worked out a way to shorten this time from the 90 days to the 45-day extension. I just mentioned that because I promised I would mention it, but that's not.
Well, in light of what we heard, I think that's a very good idea.
No, just for clarity, we are not taking action on the extension, is that right?
Right.
But just so I'm clear on this from the legal standpoint, so those bids have been rejected, right? Are we rebidding this now, or what is the posture?
That's the request, but right now, we're going to defer it, and I'm going to take a look at it to see if that's the recommendation that we need to be bringing back to the commission.
I think we have potentially two options. The city manager is going to get with the parties to see whether or not the lowest bidder can modify what he has done.
Would you just leave it open right now?
Okay, I'll leave it open for you to discuss it with them.
Let me try to frame it a little bit. This item tonight was to have approval to extend the current contract with the current vendor for a period of 90 days. The bids have been rejected, and staff has the authority to do that. However, what I'm hearing is with the manager's discomfort and desire, she wants to stop that whole process, take another look at it, and manager bring it back at the next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I was going to say.
Thank you.
I thought that was.
So we can reject the bids and then unreject them? Is that kind of legal?
You're not taking any action tonight.
Well, no, I'm just out of a matter of curiosity. I've never heard of that, but maybe that's...
Let's let them take a look at it and come back with us. Okay, next item on the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is item number 11.01, the cultural plan process update, and Commissioner Ziffer is going to present this item.
Okay, as soon as it comes up on my... Commissioners, as you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we voted in favor of approving an outline for a cultural plan. The next evening, the Council on Culture and Arts took it up at their board meeting and voted in favor of moving forward with that outline as well. Since that time, two things have happened. The first one was there was some, I think, for lack of a better description, some housekeeping that I had suggested cleaning up regarding some of who the exact designees are in these different organizations, which are before you. Additionally, the County Commission took up this recommendation last evening. They made they made a change to it that included adding two more representatives, one from the performing arts community and an actual artist would also serve on this. And then they approved the measure unanimously. And so this is back before us. I'm suggesting that we approve these housekeeping items, as I said, with the specific mentions of the chairs or designees, in addition to adding those two representatives. It will then go back to the COCO board at their next board meeting. I believe they're having an emergency meeting on Monday. And so I would ask that we approve this measure so that we can move forward with this.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Next item.
The next item is item number 11.02, and this is an item that was added at the beginning of the meeting, and it's an update on the city attorney hiring process, and Cassandra Jackson is going to present that item.
Mayor and City Commissioners, the incumbent in the city attorney position is scheduled to retire at the end of the calendar year. Staff began a recruitment process on June 9th, and it has continued up to this point. The position was extensively advertised throughout the state of Florida and nationally through the city's internet website. There were 17 non-eligible candidates, applicants that applied, and 6 eligible candidates, including Mr. Lewis Shelley. Mr. Shelley was recommended by the screening committee, composed of the appointed officials, for interview by the City Commission. On this afternoon at 3 o'clock, you conducted that interview of Mr. Lewis Shelley, and at that time, after the interview, you directed that the consideration of the appointment of the position of city attorney, effective January 1st, 2013, be placed on tonight's agenda for consideration.
Commissioners, comments? Commissioner.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to, well, first I'm appreciative of all the applicants for the position and would like to say that I believe Mr. Lewis Shelley is eminently qualified to be our next city attorney, and I would like to move his nomination to become our next Mr. English heir apparent.
New and improved.
It's been properly moved and second. Any comments? Y'all don't want to comment on Mr. Shelley? Go ahead, Commissioner Mustin.
Well, I am very pleased that this is where we are. I think, I think we'll have a proper roast of Jim English at the proper time, but I think the bar is very high for Mr. Shelley because Mr. English has done a wonderful job here for a long, long time. And I'm just very pleased that we have somebody as qualified as Lou to step in his shoes. I'm very happy to second this motion.
Commissioner? Well, the only thing I would add is I was fairly confident in his skills prior to our meeting earlier today, but I was really satisfied with all of his answers. And I think he actually went above and beyond and said some things that, quite frankly, were encouraging to me. He's a proactive person, and I liked hearing that, so I wholeheartedly support the nomination. Commissioner?
Well, I would have to agree that I was impressed with Mr. Shelley and felt he was the right person for the job before the interview, and then the interview confirmed that completely in my mind. He has a lot of ideas that he's bringing, a lot that he's been putting into place over the years that he's been there already, and I think the success of our legal department is, he carries a good bit of that. So I am in favor as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely in favor of Mr. Shelley in this process. I'm glad we did go out and ask individuals to apply for the job. The bar, quite frankly, is high for this position. We got, 17 applicants?
Yes.
Many of which didn't meet the minimum qualification because we want the best. And quite frankly, that's what is happening. It ended up being Mr. Shelley. And I'm a person that likes to plan for succession. And in this instance, I think that's what we've done. We plan well for succession. That doesn't mean that we have to utilize that as a process to select somebody to succeed in another position. But in this instance, I think that works real, real well. And so, Jim, to the extent that you may have been planning for succession, that's good. That doesn't mean we're going to accept what you say, but it does mean that at least we're thinking about what's going to happen in the future with this city and with this commission. So with that, Commissioner?
Yeah, just last thing, I want to also extend an appreciation to Mr. Shelley and his family for his time of service up to this point. But I said in his interview that I feel strongly that the city attorney position is one of the most important in this government. And it would have been, in my opinion, a disservice not to have Mr. Shelley come before the commission and really make the case as to why he should be selected and hired as our next city attorney. And as my colleagues have already expressed, I think he did that exceptionally well today in his interview.
We have a motion and a second that Mr. Lewis Shelley succeed Mr. Jim English as city attorney on January 1, 2013. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Shelley.
You have to wear the pink bra now.
No, we want, where's Rick Fernandez?
Melissa is bringing me a pink bra. So I'm humbled and honored. I hope and I pledge to you and the citizens that I'll give it 100% my effort to continue and to improve upon what we've been trying to do in the city attorney's office for the 20 years it's been an in-house office. It's not a single person. We've got 10 talented attorneys who day in and day out impress me, impress Jim English with their dedication, knowledge, and professionalism. That will continue, and I look forward for serving the citizens of the city of Tallahassee. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Well, That's good. Yes?
Just one more thing. Did you want Human Resources
yes,
to
Negotiate with
negotiate a compensation package and bring you back a recommendation?
Yes, please do so. That's part of the that would be part of the motion.
Yes.
Okay? And it's been approved. All right, next item.
The next item is item number 12.01, which is an introduction of ordinance, and the city attorney will handle that.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Mayor and Commissioners, we have one ordinance introduction under this section, which is item 12, ordinance 12035. It's an ordinance adopting a comprehensive plan amendment. It's actually the Stony Creek development. It's both land use approval and comprehensive plan amendment. That's set for first and only public hearing on October 24th at your joint city-county comprehensive plan hearing, and that's for introduction.
The ordinance is introduced. Next item.
The next item is item number 13.01, and this is a presentation that Michelle Bono is going to do for us today regarding the city's new TalGov website. And Commissioners, as I know you will remember, you said to us at your most recent retreat that you'd like to see us do some upgrading of our technology and particularly of our website. And on February 22nd, you approved a contract for a content management system to redesign the TalGov website. Over the last several months, the city's web staff and communications, ISS, web and technology staff, and key web staff in city departments have been working diligently to implement the new site. We've had a couple of dates that have changed in terms of our launching because we wanted to make sure that things were working very well before we did the actual launch, and we wanted to make sure that it was easy to read and easy to access. That being said, I think we have a really great product, and I'd like for Michelle to show it to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This has been a real partnership between the ISS Department and the Communications Department. I want to recognize my cohort, Sabrina Holloman, who's behind me. Sabrina and her staff were a key part of making this happen. But we do appreciate your support for technology. I want to give you a quick tour. Before I do, I want to recognize the people that have made this happen, because many of them have spent about 60, 70 hours a week for the last 3 or 4 weeks getting everything ready for this launch. So if they would stand, for those that are here, we have Christoph Cage, Danny Capps, Tayo Fayemi, Charles Brown, Mike Cassane, Lance Peterson, Bobby Fries, Jean Chin, Chelsea James, Scott Woodward, Nathan Nickerson, Keith Zinos, Jim Van Riper, Park Malloy, Tim Davis, Jay Johansson, and Lee Stiller.
She
Kudos
says,
to this.
stand up.
I want to just give you a whirlwind tour of the website, trying to take into account the things you all asked us to do. Some of the things you asked us to do was to make it attractive, accessible, open, and something that the citizens really found value in. So you see the pictures.
And award-winning.
And award-winning. Our site has been award-winning in the past. We expect this site will be also. You'll see first right off that there's a lot of pictures. On a lot of department pages, we have photos because we want to attract people's attention to those photos. One of the things that if you have an iPad or you have a smartphone, we have something that we've introduced. Christoph brought this idea to us, which is not uncommon but not done everywhere, called responsive design. What that means is when you open it on your iPad, it sees the size of your screen and formats the page to that size. For those of us who are getting older and want to be able to see stuff, it formats it so your eyes can adjust to that. It scrolls it down the page no matter what device you have. So that's been a real benefit. We had comments about that right away. So look on your iPad. It looks very nice on your iPad, your phone, however you want to access it. One thing I want to point out on the homepage, a lot of times when you have 26 different areas you're trying to highlight on one website, it's really difficult. So one of the things we've introduced is something called a mega menu. If you hover over these words at the top, it shows you all of the things in live. These are things that if you live in this community you might be concerned about. Under play, as you would guess, Parks and Rec is the main things that we highlight. Under work, if you want to do business with the city, it's all in this one spot. Under government, we have our projects and things happening. And for those of us who still want to go the old traditional way, we have departments. That's still how I think because I'm on the inside, so I want to be able to go to departments and then get to their pages that way. About the city has a lot of information in terms of if there's business you want to do with the city. So that mega menu, I think, has been a really beneficial thing for citizens accessing this. We shared this site with our Citizens Leadership Academy last week and got rave reviews for them because they said they want to find easier ways to get information, and they like that. This tab structure you see here highlighted on the main page, we have on a lot of page. Under news, these are the latest news releases that we've been putting out that you can click on them or see all releases. Under events, this is really fascinating to me. You'd think that a city our size would have a lot of events. I had no idea. We've set this up so that it puts the most recent event happening. So right now, you want to know what to do? Go for yoga. Go for Fitness for Life. If you choose to scroll down, you can see the entire calendar of events for the entire month. It highlights today. And I just want to give you a view of what this looks like. You see today, we've got the commission meeting on there. But when you do see more, these are the events happening in Tallahassee today after 3 o'clock. And it goes on and on and on and on. Those are at all of our centers, at every activity we have. And then if you're like me and you don't want all of that, you can come filter it by the category you choose. You can say, well, I really just want to know about meetings. So when you click on meetings, it's just going to tell you the meetings taking place today. Or you can just pick the sporting activities taking place today. So it's a way to really filter down.
Where do we import that information from?
Every one of our departments has to supply that information to us. And eventually we're going to get to where every department kind of maintains that themselves. Right now they're sending it to us and we import it all into one spot.
So would we also reach out to, let's say, the TDC and COCA and other organizations?
We've talked about that. We've had many community events, many nonprofits that say, hey, can we put our information on your page? Our concern about that is twofold. One, if you look at how much we just have, we're really worried about maintaining that. The other issue really is keeping it up to date. And we have 3 staff people in the entire communications department that do the website with support from ISS. So what we've told the community organizations is we try to find ways to link to you. And I'll show you on here. We link to COCA. We link to the Downtown Improvement Authority now with a stronger link than we had. So we're trying to find links so you can get to them, but not trying to maintain all their information because we just didn't have the staffing to really do that.
Thank you.
Anytime you're on the page and you want to go back to the home page, you can just click on the logo and it takes you back to the home page. That was really events. Under Connect, I hope commissioners and our citizens will like this. Right there, first one, contact a commissioner. We want to make sure people can get to you all and have an easy way to get there. I love this page because when you go to that page, you can see your target issues, you can see the agendas, but we use the same tab format, and this tells here's the meetings that are coming up. So I know you all never forget, but if you're ever thinking, oh, what meeting do I have today? It's right here. It's going to tell you the time, and you can click on it. It gives you more information. And then we have each commissioner highlighted across here. And then when you go to their page, you can contact that commissioner individually. You can also choose to contact all city commissioners at one time. Back to the home page, the other tabs I wanted to show you quickly. This is another one I think is going to be our citizens' favorites. You all asked us to make this about transparency. We feel like the city has always been transparent. We want to make it even easier to get information. So if you click on your money, how it's spent, ISS and Mike Cassane worked on putting this process together. It takes our PeopleSoft budget information, makes it all available to the citizens online. We started with our operating budget. So let me give you an example of how that works. You can click on departments. Now the current fiscal year, if you look, no one spent a lot of money yet. Aviation's been $73. If you want to click on last year, we have the last 2 years available. So I'm going to pick on my own department and go to communications. You can pick which division within a department you want to look at. I'm going to pick cable access. That's our WCOT station. And I'm going to scroll down and pick on equipment repairs. And it will show you how much we've spent on equipment repairs and who it's been with. Videotech is the company that does all of our maintenance of our WCOT system. It will show you that here. And you can see we spent $3,289 with them last year. So if you say, well, but I really want to know how much the city spends with Videotech all year from every department, you can type in Videotech Inc. and it will pull it up by the vendor. And then you can say, well, what other departments are using them? Well, you can see the communications department, but also Parks and Rec uses them for some of their sound needs and some of their audio needs in Parks and Rec in the playground program. So the other category I won't show you, but under vendors, you can search by every department that has equipment repairs and see their equipment repairs. You can search food for every department. You can search advertising.
Let's do food for the city manager.
We'll get to that. Now, what's really fun is...
What do you mean by that?
Nothing. You got a big shop. Got a lot of people.
What's really fun is that the Neighborhood Leadership Academy, they said, well, we were talking about dinner, and because we provide dinner to our citizens at the Neighborhood Leadership Academy, and we provided Jim and Milt's, and so we pulled up to see how much had been spent at Jim and Milt's, and I said, now give it 2 weeks, and you're going to see communications, and our partner in presenting that night was Economic and Community Development, and you'll see both of us paid for the food for the Neighborhood Leadership Academy. It's posted on our site. So it's there, it's available. If you have questions, you can then call the department and say, now, why did you spend that money? And we can tell you. So it's all available, everything in our operating budget. So
you hope they can tell you.
it is way open. It's all out there. You can see everything that we're doing. So
good for you.
It's all there.
So
okay,
can we put you to the test, Michelle, and throw some things at you?
No, I'm sorry, sir. What would you like to test?
Well, the only time I ever go on the city's website is to see what time the pool is open at Truesdale. So
let's try that. We'll see if we fail or pass. I would go to play. Right. Because that's where I think we're going to be looking. And since I've made this up, we'll see. Does anybody see pools?
Aquatics.
Aquatics. Oops. Let me go back to play and aquatics. And it tells you pool information. You want Truesdale?
Yeah.
There's the Truesdale Aquatic Center.
Wow.
Whoa, there you go.
Okay.
We did not rehearse that. So now you have it. There it is. Easy to find. And again, we're trying to think like citizens, not think like government employees, because I think by departments, citizens don't think that way. They don't know where our services lie. So we're trying to make it the ways that they think. And we know we still have some work yet to do. Also under that tab of accountability, we have your agendas, we have the lobbying registration program that you all have put in place. Under communities, this is if you're in a neighborhood, you're a senior, you want to know about Parks and Rec housing programs, we have a tab for that. And under initiatives, we have current initiatives that the commission has approved, like placemaking on Gain Street. As I mentioned, when you go into the site, we have really nice pictures about every part of the projects that you can see on these pages as well. So we're really using a lot more visual. Last couple things I want to point out. We have on the right side of most every page a column called How Do I? These are the questions that we get from citizens most often. How do I pay my utility bill? How do I find route maps and schedules? How do I go green? If you click on More How Do I, it's got an entire list of questions you might ask, and then it takes you to the answer. So How Do I is something that we've incorporated. On some pages, we now have videos that say How Do I videos. If you want to know how to adopt a pet, we have a video that's been produced by Tayo Fayemi with our animal shelter, so you can see how to do it, and you get a little video as opposed to just having to read it. The one department that gets prime play always on our homepage is your own utilities. Not just because they're the #1 utility in the nation, that is really important, but because that's our #1 customer use. People come there to pay their bills, to look at their bills, to look at their energy usage, so they will always have a presence on the homepage because we track where citizens go. That's the page that gets visited most often is your own utility, so that's why you see them there.
Well, let me ask a question on that. Can an individual customer find his usage pattern over a period of time on there?
Absolutely. When you go to your account, you can use your E+ online, sign up for that, and it will track it over the last year. It shows you by service, by gas, by water, by electric. It doesn't even have to be your service. If you know an address and you're getting ready to buy a house, you're snoopy about how much electricity your neighbor uses, you can look online and see that information because it's public information in Florida. We make it available to you. So yes, absolutely. And people like to track their bills and see how things are going. It's a great tool that the utilities provide. Another area that you all have mentioned in the past that was really important under departments, I wanted to show you the Tallahassee Regional Airport. They worked with a separate vendor, but they're still in the same template for the city of Tallahassee. They have great information about departing, arriving flights that you can get current, up to date. Here's where my flight is. You can look at parking, ground transportation, links to the airlines. You can look at the information on the airport page. I think you'll find that it's got a lot of great information as well. Other quick things, social media. I wanted to mention, with social media, Commissioner Gillum, I know you had talked about this. You said, well, let's not put all of our Facebook pages right on the homepage. We didn't put them on the homepage, but yes, we've got a couple of them in the departments. This is the fire department homepage, and when you look at their page and you scroll over, here is their Facebook, and I'm impressed. Mike Bellamy, who is with the fire department, is already posting on here about tonight's city commission meeting and the firefighters getting recognized at tonight's commission meeting. Whoops, there it is. Oh, sorry, I'm not going to sign up. But that information is there online.
And let the record reflect that Mike Bellamy and Chief Dick and a number of others climbed all the way to the top of the thing, along with Commissioner Ziffer and myself.
Yes, we
I don't know
did.
where the rest of you were, but we were there.
Climb all the way to the top of what?
So Mike, put that in the Facebook.
I believe he has, sir. I believe that is on Facebook. He had pictures of you all at the top, and they were really proud of that. We're still working on trying to work out any of the challenges. We have introduced our first chat function. It is on the growth management page. It's for land development. It's available on there from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's really fun for those of us who've done that with other vendors like the telephone company or whatever. You can go on there and send a message, and I've played with it several times, and they come online and say, hi, this is Ann in the growth management. How can I help you? And you can say, I'm trying to get a permit for this. She responds right back. For many people, they say, well, why not just pick up the phone and call them? You're welcome to do that, but a lot of younger people are used to just typing information and sending it and expecting to have a conversation that way. So we've started with the chat function. It's available on there as well. So that's really a whirlwind tour. There's much more on there. I'm sure if you look hard enough, you might find some things we haven't caught yet. Please let us know, our citizens and our commissioners. We're trying to make sure we have everything exactly the way it needs to be. We get 12 million page views of the city's website a year. It's one of the most commonly viewed websites in all of Tallahassee, behind the Democrat and some of the media sites. So the kudos really go not to me. It's this team of people you see sitting over here. I don't know that they love it yet. They haven't recovered yet from working so many hours, but they are a great team who put a lot of passion into this, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Well done.
Great. I think it's really wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you all. Thank you for the hard work. We appreciate it. Yes, Commissioner.
Now, does this go live today?
It's been live.
I apologize. We actually tried to do what we called a soft launch. You can't really do that. You just launch or you don't. So we launched on October the 1st. We didn't make a big to-do of it because we really wanted to make the time to work out some of the kinks, and we had a few, and we've gotten them mostly worked out. We've got new services we'll continue to add. So today is the official launch, although it's been live since October 1. So we'll send out a news release about it tomorrow, trying to tell our citizens, please go check this out because we think they're going to love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go on to the next item. Or anybody want a break? Next item. I didn't get any response to that, so.
Okay. The next item is item number 13.02, approval to accept and appropriate $68,600 for USDA Farmers Market Promotional Program grant funding. And Commissioners, this agenda item is requesting the acceptance of a USDA grant in the amount of $68,600 to promote local farmers markets and to support further establishment of the Frenchtown Farmers Market. Staff from EPER collaborated with the Tallahassee Food Network, a local nonprofit group, to develop a proposal to respond to the grant proposal. And the Tallahassee Food Network will implement the grant in partnership with the city and a number of other community groups. The grant provides funding for up to 4 part-time positions and a marketing campaign that supports local farmers markets as well as local farmers. I see Cynthia Barber from EPER is here to answer any questions you may have and also introduce you to some of the members of the community who will be involved in this process.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We're very excited about this grant and the opportunity to partner with Tallahassee Food Network and some others, which I'll allow them to introduce them, to address fresh food, what they call food deserts, in some other underrepresented areas where we may find like in Market Street, every week, twice a week, there'll be fresh fruits and vegetables available, but in some areas called food deserts, like for instance in the Frenchtown area, it's not always present, so you don't have that consistency. So this grant will allow not only for the markets, but also education and awareness about the importance of fresh food and in your neighborhood. So I have Maisha, who will introduce the rest of the group and some of the community partners that we'll work with on the grant.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you all for the opportunity to work in a partnership with the City of Tallahassee. My name is Maisha Mitchell, and I work with the Front Porch Florida partnership here. I have Mr. Jim Bellamy, who is the neighborhood president at Greater Frenchtown and the Frenchtown Neighborhood Improvement Association. Nathan Ballantyne, most of you all know, he's the man in overalls, does a lot of work in our area to support the food neighborhood movement. And Pascal Edouard, who is a recent graduate MPH student from Florida A&M University Institute of Public Health. And of course, Dr. Kasima Boston, who is one of the key aspects of our work and around global food and food security. So we're working very hard in our area to do local work, but it's very global that we're trying to address the issues of insecurities among families in our own neighborhoods and places where we can make sure that they can get access to healthy food. And earlier, the young people were talking about these aspects, and they are growing gardens all over. So Nathan may take a minute to mention an agro project.
Agro. No, wait, tell me again. Okay, I'm talking about agro. I'm especially grateful to work with the city on this grant, farmers market promotion. There's been a lot of talk about healthy foods and folks interested in farmers markets and such. But there's kind of this critical mass that you need in order to make farmers markets really successful, because you need enough farmers in order to turn out the customers, and you need enough customers to turn out the farmers. So the benefit of this money is going to be getting those numbers of customers up so that the farmers show up. And if farmers are making money, then they keep showing up as well. And as a piece of that, there's the iGrow project. They've just started the Dunn Street Youth Farm. iGrow is a youth empowerment and urban ag project. And the Dunn Street Youth Farm is on Dunn Street, just north of Brevard. And so those young folks will have an opportunity to bring their produce into the Frenchtown Heritage Market and sell that there through this program.
Awesome. All right. Anything, comments, questions?
I'll move the item, Mayor.
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Yes.
Yes, my name is Jim Bellamy, and for the last 2 years, basically, we have been having a marketplace in Frenchtown. It's been funded basically by the Community Redevelopment Agency from the city. Michael Parker kind of offered us a challenge a couple of years ago. He said, why don't y'all start a market? So we did. And this year, we were funded by the Blue Foundation under the Coalition. So we got $10,000 from that. That kind of helped us kind of move it along. So then the marketplace application came along, and we pulled in some farmers, like from Jefferson County Farmers Association. We had Red Hill Farms. That's the other thing that we're going to do in terms of expanding and developing the Red Hill Farms online marketplace. And the other thing is the major part that I've been hanging on to for so long. I've been accused of not letting other people get involved and stuff, but I just wanted to make sure it happened. And we been doing the marketplace, and it's been on a small basis, but it's really beginning to work. The word is getting around now. People are beginning to come out. And we have a diversity. We got people selling eggs. We got people selling peppers, all kinds of things that's happening. And it's something that we enjoy, and it's something that's going to address, because our whole focus, like somebody showed you earlier, I think it was Kasima showed you earlier, in terms of COPE's action plan steps. Ours is to increase accessibility of healthy food for our community, and that's what we're trying to do. We got to bring the farmers in, more farmers in, and that's how we're going to have to do is educate. Yeah, I know, I get going. and y'all know me too, y'all know I do that. But what we got to do is we got to educate the consumers and the farmers. We got to get both of them coming in. We got to get more consumers coming to the marketplace and more farmers bringing stuff into the marketplace, which really will create some jobs and help our economic situation for some people too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellamy. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
As a final comment to kind of pull all of this together, acting as a member of the Tallahassee Food Network and in this project acting as evaluator, we're really looking forward to doing a participatory type of evaluation where all the people that are involved in any kind of issue around food and gaining food are involved in this particular style of evaluation. But also we're training the young people once again to go through the process of evaluation. So it's a continuation of the empowerment leadership training, but involving all participants in the process of evaluation.
Okay. Done. Thank you very much. We really, it's been properly moved and second to accept the $68,000 and let you all do good. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Commissioner. Go ahead.
I just have a question. My understanding is that the garden in Frenchtown is going to be, the market is going to be open three Saturdays, or is this going to allow that to continue for a much longer period of time?
It will allow us to be open probably for a much longer period of time. Right now, like this Saturday is coming up, will be one of our Saturdays. But we've been open like the second Saturday of the month and the last Saturday of the month, all the summer. And it's worked out pretty well.
Okay.
We're open to doing the festival and everything.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I apologize, Commissioner. I didn't see you. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Next item. Oh, that's right. Let's take a 5-minute break. I can sure use one. 5-minute break. We'll be back.
Good day.
Yeah. A lot of presentations, but very.
I really like the scenes.
What's that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, item number 13.03, which is a discussion and approval of the city's proposed sales tax extension project list. And Commissioners, on September 19th, 2012, you reviewed and discussed 6 potential projects that could be submitted to the Leon County Sales Tax Committee, and you also added 3 projects to that list. Tonight, the Commission is asked to review the final list and to consider ranking them. We need your prioritization on some of these, at least to get a feel for what is most important to you. In a conversation I was having with Commissioner Miller, I think on yesterday, one of the things we talked about was that it's very difficult at this point to be able to look at the list of projects and assume what all will be funded. But it's really more about what you would like to see in the long run, because if you recall, the last time we did this, we went through this process, we literally had Tier 1 and Tier 2 projects, and some we're still trying to get to in terms of the funding availability. So we're not going to have precise cost for you, but some projects are more precisely priced than others at this point because of input that you've given us. So we're hoping to leave today with some strong recommendations that you provide to us so that we can then turn that over to the advisory committee, who will be reviewing it and will receive it on October 24th. That being said, let me ask Jay to make any remarks that he may have on this.
Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Madam Manager and City Commission. As the manager mentioned, there's basically 3 things that we would like to see happen tonight. First is we'd like to present to you 3 additional projects that you asked us to look at, those being first a project in the downtown area, and you'll see that we identify the College Avenue area as one of those projects, improvements along North Monroe as a gateway, and then lastly, enhanced facilities to affect our homelessness in our community. And so we have those that we'll present to you to be considered as part of the 22 projects that we've already listed to date. Second thing we'd like you to do is also give us guidance as it relates to the percentage of tax funds that would be used towards economic development. You can go up to 15%. The county has indicated that they're comfortable with 10%, so we'll be seeking your guidance on that as well. Then lastly, and you'll see in the options of what you can do tonight, is to consider the 22 projects and sort of give us your preference towards the same. The county has not actually prioritized their projects. They, in total, have just sent their project list to the Sales Tax Committee for its entire consideration. So they did not prioritize theirs as well. So with that, I'd like to ask Cherie to come up and do the additional presentation. And one note, again, it's October 25th is when we need to do our presentation to the Sales Tax Committee. The Sales Tax Committee has also asked us to look at a couple additional items just for their own education, and one of those was the undergrounding utilities. And I can't remember the second one. It was airport. They asked us to look at some of the airport items as it relates to potential projects that they might want to advance as a committee.
Okay.
Cherie?
While Cherie comes up, really, is there any controversy about the percentage that we want to have regarding economic development?
I still really would like to see more definition in the intention, first of all. Second of all, I think maybe up to 7.5%. I'm not really comfortable with anything above that, mainly because it's so much money and not really being clear at this point exactly who, what, when, and where this money is going to be, and how is this going to be managed. That's my second issue. My third issue is that I really want to hear from the Citizens Committee. I mean, I really don't want to give a whole lot of just say this has already been decided, this has already been decided, before they have a chance to come to some conclusions. That does not just apply to the economic development aspect of this, that also applies to the projects on the table. So just since you asked, that's my point at this point.
I think all we're doing is making a recommendation to the committee as to what we think would be appropriate, and they're going to eventually look at this thing and determine. We just need to let Jay and others what we think is appropriate. And that's my understanding, Commissioner.
Yeah, what I do think with regard to prioritizing the projects is that we ought to send our complete, similar to what the county did, send our complete list and let them determine what they think is a higher priority for the entire community. And then those projects that don't make it and we still think they're critically important, we can set aside as part of the city's priority. But if we take our priorities out now and remove them from consideration, I think we're sort of shorting ourselves before the committee has had an opportunity to vet completely through it. Once they've done that, I'd be happy to then say what I think is the highest priority for our portion of the funding. On the economic development piece, I am comfortable with the 10%. I do think, like Commissioner Miller, that we do need more context to how it will be applied. I don't think we ought to leave it completely vague because I think, it could build public perception that it's just some slush fund that can be used any sort of way. But we didn't have this tool the last time, and I do think it's a real tool, this 10% tool for economic development, and I think we ought to exercise it, now that we have that ability.
Any other comments? I mean, I think I'm getting a sense. Commissioner Muschin.
Well, I had just a couple, Mayor, and they're all across the map here, so let me try and put this together. On the economic development piece, I agree. I think I'm okay with the 10%. I think we do need some real specificity as to how it's going to work and what we're going to use the money for. And one of the things that it's my observation, and it would be helpful to provide the committee with some more input on this, is, my sense that other university communities around the country do a better job than we do right now with technology transfer and trying to work off our strengths of the universities to try and turn that into economic development progress. And that's a different thing than trying to compete for every country that's trying to see who's going to get the highest bid for them to bring their jobs somewhere, which I don't, and I see us as really wanting to just throw money at. So if we can, kind of hone this down and really focus in that direction, I think that's really where we ought to go.
All right.
The two other things, and I was not at the last meeting, so I missed the discussion on this, but so just a couple of things real quick. I would tend to agree. I don't know that we want to go through a whole grid and rank 26 projects and that sort of thing for the committee, but I would not be opposed to at least giving some kind of input of among these 8 major topics, kind of what our thinking is in terms of preference there. I don't feel particularly strongly about that if you guys don't want to do that, but I mean, some of these jump out as a lot higher priorities to me than others do. So whatever,
You should not just rank them, but let's discuss them so they'll have some sense of where we're going with them.
Well, I mean, I think it was kind of a good way to do this, that we grouped these projects under headings, building the core, connecting the community, and I was just suggesting among those headings that we might say, hey, these are our top, kind of in order or something like that. I mean, that's kind of the way I was trying to look at it.
And submit them all, though.
Yeah, and then projects within those are going to, I mean, there's some things that would be in my #1 heading, but there's projects under it I don't really think we ought to do. And so, I mean, that might be one way to look at it.
As an attachment, the dollar amount on each of those sections is an attachment to your...
Right.
Yeah, so you can see that. Commissioner Ziffer?
I'm at the 10% also. And I agree with Commissioner Muschin on probably reaching out and doing some evaluation of what other university towns similar to ours might be doing. But I will say, and this is, I see Sue Dick out there, and I think she and I have had this conversation. I know we have these, it's 5 or 6 target industry sectors that we pursue. I still have this feeling that those should almost be narrowed down, because if you look at those, they're still fairly broad, and we hit just about everything, and I think there are probably some things we can narrow down that we do better than others. But once again, I think there's probably researching to see what other university towns similar to ours are doing. But I would support the 10%.
All right, I think we got kind of, Commissioner Miller on the 10%, if you want to make some more comments, please.
No, this actually was not on that. What I would like to know before, I would really prefer that we didn't make a decision on the management structure if we don't have to tonight. And the main reason is that I would like to see, first of all, I haven't seen the presentation that the Sales Tax Committee has received. We haven't received that, and I think that would be helpful to us. Secondarily, I would like to know what other communities are doing and how they handle their economic development funding mechanism. Because, I mean, I hear a lot about we're being out-competed and other people have more money to invest in economic development. Well, okay, how do they do that? And I spoke to Michael Parker. He was very helpful. We had a really good meeting about this week, and he really was able to fill in a lot of detail for me. But I'm pretty much interested in what I talked to him about was where does their money come from? And in this case, my question is, how do they administer it? So I'd like to have some comparisons to make, I guess.
Let me ask a question. When you say you want to see what other communities are doing, could you kind of give us some more details? Do you want to go to a community? You want the staff to go to a community? I
think the staff has access to this information. And I know that Blueprint is unique to Tallahassee, and so they've attempted to hook into the Blueprint framework, which is fine. Maybe that's going to be the best alternative. But having not seen any other alternatives, because I have some problems with some of the parts of this particular one that we have in front of us. It's not something that we can probably, by the time a sales tax passes or not, we'll probably be able to work through some of that. But I'd like for us to basically look at some other communities where their money comes for economic. If they are really so good that we are losing out to them in the case of this or that project, where is their money? Well, with Michael, he explained where 2 or 3 places get their money for this, but we didn't have an opportunity to talk about where that money goes, how it's held, the reportability, how they administer it, how they make decisions. These, obviously, recruiting efforts take a certain amount of negotiation, and that can't all be done. You have to be discreet about some of this, but how does that work? How do they do that, given the fact that they're using public dollars and so on? I just would like to see some more alternatives.
I guess we have to figure out if there are some ideal communities that's doing economic development, and maybe Michael Park can give us that information, and we can research it based on that. Okay, Commissioner Gillum.
Yeah, the other thing on the economic development is I don't have the clearest sense of what already exists in the community with regard to supports. I mean, we've got small business incubators, probably more than 3. If you go Innovation Park, FAMU, FSU, TCC starting one. The county put some money towards it when we invested in Turbo, was it Turbo?
No, they didn't.
Danforth. They didn't invest in that, but they chose the small business incubator route. And what I think we deserve some attention is analysis on where the gaps are. When you think about, support, I don't know where the gaps are. If incubating a new businesses, which I think is an attractive idea, but we need some contour around that. I don't want to be duplicating efforts in that regard. The targeted industries that the EDC identified, I'm vaguely pulling those back to memory, which I thought were good areas, but probably agree with Commissioner Ziffer that even more targeted of the targeted industries is probably necessary. And then on the expanding existing businesses, I mean, if there's a criticism we can all stand to take is by way of how we've extended our resources from this government have been to bring in new industry. I mean, we've extended money and building infrastructure and incentivizing that. And I don't think what we have done enough of is figure out how we can be of support to expanding what already exists. I visited one of the manufacturing companies. The EDC held the manufacturing day. And one of the things that they sort of identified is that company was a spinoff out of Danfoss, creating component parts of what was needed to supply Danfoss Turbocore. Well, as that market has become more global, they are contracting out to Asia for some of their component pieces. So they're struggling and trying to find a niche with attracting new clients that they could create these parts for. I mean, manufacturing jobs are totally slowed, domestically. And so is there a way in which we can be of, like, where are the gaps that exist there to keep that business going, operating, so on and so forth? But the tricky part of it is do we get in the business of choosing winners and losers when you start saying growing existing industry? So it's got to fit into some category, but I don't know that we've done the thinking about what that looks like.
Commissioner.
Yeah, just one more quick comment, and I think it's where not us when I say we fall down. I think it's typically where we fall down sometimes as a community, and that is this economic development component is fairly far-reaching because it has to do with jobs, which would be tremendously beneficial to the folks that live here or people that might be moving here. I guess my point is that the more we can bring in all the different elements in this community that will be impacted by it and can impact it, the better off we'll be. So this is still a fairly beginning stage, and I know I share with Commissioner Miller my concern and your concerns that this still needs to be fleshed out. I think we're still a far ways off from getting where we need to be, and I think there probably needs to be similar to what, my pin's falling off, what the Blueprint Committee is doing, and that is be more specific in economic development, try to bring all the different groups together in a room to come up with a more concise program that we'd move forward with. I don't mean to be rambling, but the EDC tries to do it, but we still have different parts of our community that don't come together, and I just think we need to do a better job of that.
Well, that was tried at one point, and I agree with you. But when you said that, which is the beginning stages, you mean the beginning stages of what we're doing with this blueprint?
Whatever this is.
The blueprint.
The key to it is going to be the electorate buying into it and accepting it, and then once we have it, doing a good job with it. But the first stage is putting together a program that is acceptable to our citizens and our voters. And I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be to explain to them the real value of us doing this.
We're not.
Doing what we want to do with Blueprint.
And particularly economic development.
Okay.
Because it's a bit ambiguous. It's not the same as we want to widen Capitol Circle southwest of the airport. That's something people can feel and touch, just like when we did Capitol Circle southeast and other roads, or when we improved stormwater facilities or Cascades Park. This is far more ambiguous, and I think we need to be far more clear of what this really means. And in my opinion, we're nowhere near there yet. But we have time to do that.
Well, I think we're far along than you might think. Because several years ago, we were really.
No, I'm talking about, I think Commissioner Muschin may understand. He's about to say something. I think what we're talking about here is nowhere near at a point where we could go out to the electorate and say, this is what we want to do. Messaging-wise and being concise as far as what the program is. From an economic development standpoint, clearly, Mayor, in 10 years, 15, 20 years, we've improved considerably. But what this is still not, even to me, totally clear.
Okay, I'm not quite understanding exactly what you're talking about, because I think the EDC over the last 6, 7, 8 years has did a fairly decent job in trying to define where we want to go and what sectors that we want to be in, and I think that's correct. Now, having said that, are we where we should be? No, I think that there are a lot of things that we can do. I agree with Commissioner Muschin that a focus should be there should be a focus on technology transfer. I think we're missing a big boat when we don't use our universities. 2 research institutions here in the city of Tallahassee, and we have, although we've taken somewhat of an advantage of that in terms of some of the things that they've done, we have not, I don't think we have put the economic development resources in those 2 universities that we can put in those universities to help them really. Because it has been my experience that you got a lot of good professors over there and researchers over in both universities. They'll do all this good research and everything, and then what they do is put it on the shelf and go to the next project. And what we need to do is figure out how we can help them transfer that technology to commercial applications. That, I think, would be just the right thing we should do. And in conjunction with what the EDC is doing now, I'm not so sure about the incubators and how valuable they are at this point in time. But I think value is in using this resource, the university and research resource we have. That's where I am. Commissioner?
But I think that, to Commissioner Ziffer's point, I agree. I don't think we're there yet. I think we got a lot of knowledge base to get there. And me saying that we need to improve technology transfer is a whole lot way up here, and we need to get down here in terms of what does that mean exactly, what's real. And I think this is going to have to be pretty tight if it's going to be a saleable thing.
Absolutely.
So that's the, I have, and if you guys will indulge me, I have one other small project that would fit under one of these categories, probably under this creating special urban places that I've been approached about. And since I wasn't here last time, let me just roll this out real quick. And then if we could maybe consider, as part of what goes over, adding this under the mix. I mean, it's a small dollar thing, but it would be, after meeting a whole bunch of times now with these folks, I think it would maybe be a smart thing to do. I've been approached by the Goodwood people several times now, and they, you know, there's issues financially and, you know, just keeping all that stuff up there. That's and they have figured out that there are a couple of lots on the front part of Goodwood that are on Miccosukee Road that aren't covered by the deed restrictions. And so they're trying to figure out what should we, you know, should we sell these? What should we do? And so the idea was, you know, kind of working with the hospital and Goodwood, you know, could we maybe create a little garden or a place for kids to go? Because in the whole area of the hospital, if you're trying to take a 2-year-old out somewhere, there's nowhere to go. So anyway, I just asked that we maybe consider that, and I think the county's going to talk about this a little bit too. But it may not work out. It may make a lot of sense. But I just thought it was something that was worth talking about because it kind of did several things that would be good there.
Good.
If I could add, because I've had that conversation too, and the closest park, other than the Cobb and Kate Sullivan schools, which are Leon County schools, is Winthrop Park, which is a long ways off. And so there are a lot of neighborhoods around there. They mentioned to me that the hospital might be interested in putting a playground in there, particularly for when they have families that have either, you know, mom and dad in there and the children need someplace to go while they're visiting. But it seemed like a good opportunity for us. And I know we have 130 or so parks already, but this is one that's in our central core. And this is an area that right now isn't being serviced. So I agree with Commissioner Mushin. I'd be in favor of adding that to the list.
We'll add it. Anybody else?
Well, then back to the question, Mayor, and
let's go to each one of these categories.
Yeah, I mean, but do we want to rank these, or do, you know, would the best way to do that, everybody go back and write down your top, you know, 6 in order and give them to the manager and let them average it out, or that I mean, that would be probably my preference.
You're talking about the
broad areas.
Yes.
The broad areas. Are you talking about ranking the broad areas or ranking those under?
You know, like taking Star Metro versus completing the central core, that type of stuff. I mean, I think, I don't know that I think it'd be useful for our sake to kind of think about it.
I think it would absolutely be useful, and I think that once we actually submit something to the committee is really going to want to have some sense of what is important and why it is important to this commission. And if you want them to review first and then come back, they may have already formed some hard ideas about other things that they think are important if we haven't really articulated why we think some of these things are important. So if you could give us any kind of feedback, that would be very helpful on this. And there's another thought just occurred to me as I'm sitting here. This process for us has been, we haven't taken a lot of time. We've taken time out of several commission meetings to actually bring the sales tax initiative to you. Maybe this is a special workshop discussion. Just a thought between now and the 24th. I know it's always hard to try and set that up, but just a thought.
Don't we have one next week? Is it next week?
Yeah.
You have one scheduled for the 17th.
Do we have time in it to add this to the agenda?
You have one item on it right now.
I would like to spend a little, and here's why. There are some things that are within these broader subcategories that I see them as deal killers, quite frankly. And that concerns me.
See them as what? I'm sorry.
Community. I see them as items that the electorate may not be sold on, and I don't want to put anything on this ballot that is going to hurt the entire effort. And I see a few things on there that are going to be hard sells.
Well, the suggestion is are you suggesting that we just give you an opportunity to look at this and come back at a workshop?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have.
A week from today.
Perhaps it would be helpful if staff could provide us these broad areas and then each one of these individual items that are listed, just kind of bulleted, so that in advance, for example, the ones I have problems with, and then each one of us could scratch through and then we could have that conversation, be prepared. Is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
Jay, Cherie?
Yes, I do. I want to make certain that I understand you correctly.
For example, it says game changers, the city proposed projects under building the core. There's convention center, outdoor pedestrian mall, cement factory, redevelopment, and so on. If these could just be listed as bullet items under that broader category?
It's already done.
I can absolutely do that. I just want to verify. I believe that something like this.
Yeah,
that
it's
has
already
all
done.
in there, and it was not in the online version of.
Yes, it is.
The printed.
The very end?
It is on the online, it's in the online version. It doesn't have the Baines, Baines, did you do this? The Baines ranking. There's a Baines ranking on there too.
Yes, there's a listing of
Okay,
the projects.
that's fine.
So if that's satisfactory, then, or I can do something in.
Nope, that's okay.
Okay. if
Got
that's-
it.
that's good.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was looking at this, and they got this ranking that Mr. Baines apparently provided us. Is that yours? Really? Oh, okay, I got you.
Mayor.
On these projects. But anyway, all right.
Having gone through this once before, I just want to say that in the beginning with our process, we had a lot of projects on that we thought might be important, that were and are important. But we went through those and did apply some specifics as to whether this was something that was a concept that was universally shared by the citizenry. And that there were some things that went off the list due to the fact that it just didn't see, it was something that was controversial already in the public at that time, and so on. And so that's how we approached it. And I think we're only at the beginning of that process. The one thing I would ask before we deal with this in workshop too is if there's any way, and I know having, again, done the numbers once before, found out how irrelevant they were ultimately, but just as a perspective, and I spoke to the manager about this the other day, just as perspective, some of these items have the major category and then 5 or 6 issues suggested under that category with dollar signs. Then there are others like, for example, I was looking at completing the downtown core, and I really want more specificity on price, those things.
Yes.
So if everything can just universally be, here's the list of suggestions, and by the way, each one of these, we expect to cost somewhere in the vicinity of so-and-so, would be helpful.
All right, we're going to defer any formal action at this point in time until 1 week from today when we have a workshop. Let's hope we can do that in a very efficient way and that we don't have utilize a lot of time to get there. All right, next item.
Next item is item number 13.04, Economic Development Permitting Incentives. And Commissioners, in an effort to continue to make Tallahassee more business-friendly, the City Commission has already taken a number of actions, such as adopting public and private sector fast-track permitting processes, streamlining procurement policies, extending site plans and environmental permits, and modifying the land development code to create process efficiencies, to name a few things. This item is outlining another proposed program that would assist the business community by establishing a 7-day on-time review or money-back guarantee program for new 1 and 2 family building permit applications. We mentioned this to you a number of months ago, probably in the spring, as a concept. You liked the concept, and we told you we would bring something back to you with a little bit more detail. And today, Karen Jumonville is prepared to bring that item to you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager. Both the City Commission and the City Manager have made it a priority to be proactive in identifying new programs that can be adopted to show that Tallahassee is a great place to do business. The city manager mentioned a number of programs that have already been implemented in an effort to support this goal. And then earlier this year, Commissioner Gillum spoke with staff about some ideas that he had that were related to a money-back guarantee program. And what we did was we took that concept and we vetted it with the staff team and looked at how it could potentially work in the city of Tallahassee. We later brought that concept to the Financial Viability Target Issue Committee and talked about, again, how it could work in Tallahassee. And then what we got back from that committee was approval to bring a program to the full City Commission for consideration. The proposed program that's before you today, it establishes a money-back guarantee program that staff would complete reviews for new 1- and 2-family permit applications on single lots within 7 working days for the first application review, and then 5 working days for any subsequent resubmittal. And if we don't meet these timeframes, we would refund the application fee. I need to be clear that that does not include water sewer fees and then some state surcharges on the application. But all other building permit application and review fees would be refunded. So a customer can expect to come in and submit an application and within 7 days either A, get an email from growth management saying that the permit is ready to pick up, or B, that an email outlining the review comments so that they can resubmit that application back to us. I need to point out that the 7-day review time is a 41% decrease in the review time that we're doing now from the 12 days that we're doing now. And the way that we've been able to make that commitment is that we looked at some internal efficiencies within growth management that would allow kind of a simultaneous review. Right now there's a sequential review where zoning has an application for a few days, environmental gets it, and then it later goes down to building. Now we're going to be doing that all at once where everybody has an opportunity to look at it together. We also have a number of reporting mechanisms in place to make sure that we don't default on these and that we know when the deadlines are coming up. So we feel comfortable that this is something that we can do. We're recommending that implementation begin on October 15th, which is Monday, and that it run for a period of about a year, and that we then bring back a report to the Commission on how the program has worked so that you can provide us feedback on whether it's something that you'd like to adopt as a more permanent process. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions.
Commissioner Gillum.
Yeah, I just want to say I could not be more enthusiastic about where this whole project has landed, and want to acknowledge you, Karen, and your staff for really being willing to, I think, put your money, the city's money, your money, where your mouth is, because we've been bragging about our timeline and improvements, and I think it's penetrated for some of the development community, and I think for others, there's still folks who are harking back to 10 years ago and their experience with growth management, and I think it's been unfair, and I don't believe personally that you all have gotten the amount of credit that you deserve for the improvements that you've made. And now what you are doing by stepping out in this way on this pilot project is saying that if we aren't meeting the mark, if we're not meeting our benchmarks, and this does press you a little bit, but if we're not meeting our benchmarks, you know, you get your money back, and we'll do better the next time. But I think it has the potential of improving the way we pitch ourselves to the development community around being, I think, a business-friendly place, while at the same time that we're going to check all the boxes, that we're not going to sacrifice our quality of life or environmental protections or any other pieces of regulation that are necessary in order to issue these permits. I also want to extend a thanks to Jay and to Wayne, but also to some unlikely staff who were part of this discussion, Rick Fernandez, Reese Goad, Raul, who were all sort of in on the discussions, and obviously the manager for unleashing the potential of her staff to, I think, really push beyond the pale. So, and I believe by passing this tonight, we will be the first in our region to offer a money-back guarantee on residential permits. So, congratulations.
Commissioner Ziffer.
Well, I want to thank Commissioner Gillum for your leadership on this. And Karen, you continue to not amaze me, but you continue to follow through on what your commitment was when you first were given the title as head of. I don't like calling it growth management. It's almost like, because management suggests that we're there to like stifle down. It's almost more like growth making or something like that. So I still challenge you and your department to work on that, because what you're doing is having people live up to what their obligations are when it comes to building construction, but you're doing it in a far more efficient manner. I'm looking at Sue Dick out there. I hope she's tweeting it right now to every single Chamber of Commerce member so that they know that when it comes to growth, our department is interested in making it happen by following the rules, but making it happen. So I want to thank you very much. And Commissioner Gillum, just you keep doing everything like this. Good job. Thank you.
Commissioner?
Karen, you do continually amaze me. So I will move the item, Mayor.
Second.
Commissioner? No comment?
Well, I've already told Karen this afternoon that we went through this very specifically, and I am very excited that you've been, at your resourcefulness, the way that you've carefully targeted your efforts, and I am very excited. I have also told her at the first sign of trouble, at the first sign that we're in a building lull now, but as soon as they see the wave coming toward them, that they need to raise the red flag to us to let us know that we need to provide more staffing to make sure we meet these guidelines.
Well, you can believe that I have told them that as well, because we don't have any money to give away. So one of the things that we talked about in this whole process is making sure that we were setting guidelines that we knew we would be able to keep under most reasonable times, and even some extended time. So I think we're good.
Well, we have. Go ahead,
If
Karen.
I might add one other thing, one of the other programs that we're implementing internal to growth management to make sure that we don't default on these review times is a cross-training program. We have a number of reviewers who are certified to do 1- and 2-family plan review, which is not what their job is, and now they're going to get trained in how they actually can apply that in case we get in a crunch.
Let me tell you, we've come a long, 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 long way. I would never have imagined when I was first elected to this position that we would have something like this. It's just almost unbelievable. But I want to thank you, Karen, and Commissioner Gillum for having the idea, but for staff to coming up with a way to do it. And I think a lot of it has to do with technology changes, and that helps a lot under these circumstances. And I just, this is a pilot program, right? 1 year. We're going to come back in a year and see how it works.
That's correct.
I think it's great. I think what you're doing is great. I can't say much more. We got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously.
Great.
Next item. Next item.
The next item is item number 13.05, and we have several. These are introductions of ordinance, and I will ask Jim English to handle those.
Thank you, Mayor. As indicated, 1305 is an introduction. It's ordinance 12037. Authorizes the city manager to amend the city's high-risk industrial facility inspection and stormwater monitoring procedures. Essentially, we have to do that annually to meet our MS4 requirements, and we'd like to have that flexibility and that delegation to the city manager. If you introduce this, it'll be set for public hearing on October 24th.
It's introduced. Unless there's discussion and introduction. Any discussion on 1305? There appear to be none. Let's introduce. Next item.
1306 deals with the general employees pension plan. You recall on September 25th, you had a special workshop to deal with these issues. This is the ordinance coming back to implement those proposed changes. It's 12038, proposed amendments to the city pension ordinance relating to the general employees pension plan. Here for introduction, and we'll set it for public hearing on October 24th, and Mr. Cook is obviously here to answer any questions you might have.
This is the matter which was addressed earlier today by the employees' representative.
Sure.
And since we're going to have a public hearing, and we have to have a public hearing between now and then, I'd like to have some input on how that impacts and what the employees want and what was suggested by the employees and what we're doing. So, but nevertheless, the item is introduced. Anything else? Yes.
Well, I'm just not clear why we're not, you've got listed recommended actions on 1305, 1306, and 1307, and are you sure we don't have to vote on this? I mean, it says recommended action, option 1, blah, blah, blah.
You have to introduce it.
This is an ordinance
action.
that we're going to introduce, that we're going to have a public hearing on, and after that public hearing on, we'll vote as to what we want to do.
Correct. You will take a vote on these items, and the vote will happen at the public hearing, which is scheduled for October 20th.
I understand that. I just don't understand why this isn't up at the top with introduction of ordinances, if that's the case.
I think it was placed here primarily to give an opportunity if there was any discussion that needed to be had on the item. The introduction ordinance is generally a reading and an introduction with no action. This gives the opportunity for the interaction you're having right now.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, I was going to mention something in response to Mr. Lessman's comments earlier, who I have a lot of respect for, but we're in fundamental philosophical disagreement on this. I think it's important for everybody to remember that this only impacts people that currently don't work here. I mean, no current retiree, no current employee. This is people coming on, that are new employees. And so really the issue is, and the committee, we welcome their input one way or the other, but the input and the real issue, I think, is does it make it, difficult or too difficult for the city to hire good people? Right. And that's a kind of a subjective call. But I mean, again, my observation is that there are a number of other local governments around Florida that have completely done away with their defined benefit system and seem to be hiring good employees. So I just want to make sure we're kind of talking apples and oranges in my view there.
All right, the item is introduced. Next item.
And the last one, excuse me, is item 1307, also introduction of a pension ordinance. This is item 12039, and it's the amendments to the police officers and firefighters pension plan that you also conceptually approved on September 25th.
Any comments? No comments. That item is introduced. Next item.
The next item, Commissioners, is the target issue updates, and we have 4 this evening. Long-range planning, Commissioner Mushton is going to do that. Economic development by the mayor, health and human services by Commissioner Ziffer, and environmental and energy resources, Miller.
Long-range planning.
2 things very quickly here. Commissioner Miller and I had we've talked about this a couple of times at a couple of meetings about the trailhead on the St. Mark's Trail, and this is the, kind of the end of it, that where it ends up now by the university and the Stearns-Mosley neighborhood. There is a land that was acquired for a trailhead, but it's kind of south of Gamble Street, and it's not very easily seen or accessed. And we've never made it into a trailhead because we don't have any money to operate it. So Commissioner Miller's suggestion and mine was, well, maybe, we have this land up near the Alberta Park. Mm-hmm. It's much more visible and accessible by people. Would it make sense maybe to locate the trailhead up there? And so that was, we asked staff to come back to us, figure out yay or nay, or what the possibility is. Second issue is the old fried chicken place that the city now owns the property. And there's a group, a nonprofit group, that has approached the city and said, hey, we would like to run like kind of a bike shop, bike repair facility. We'll maintain it. And we said, well, that's, I think we'd be willing to think about that. But that's kind of a separate decision from the trailhead decision. So that's, staff is going to get back to us, but that's kind of where that stuff is. The second issue, we had a discussion about our affordable housing update. This was kind of at my request. I just kind of wanted to get a feel for what are we, given where the economy is now, what are we doing affordable housing wise? Where's our money going? Should we be maybe thinking strategically in a couple of respects? And I think in terms of where the money's going, I feel pretty comfortable that what we're doing is pretty much the right thing there. But I did suggest to the staff that we think about, while real estate prices are low as they've been in a long time, that we maybe look at land banking to the extent we can, some property that eventually we may want to have available for affordable housing when it's a lot harder to get the property. So in the context of FAMU Way and some other things, I think we're going to look at trying to do that. That's the report.
Next.
It's you.
Oh, me, it's the report essentially has been given. That's the cultural plan review. Commissioner Ziffer did a wonderful job in presenting that, and we worked all those details out at our last economic development target issue meeting, and the county has with some modifications, they adopted it, and I think we're on the way. Now, the only thing left, of course, is for us to determine who our 3 appointees will be. So I don't know how quickly they're going to form the cultural plan committee, but I would just suggest that each commissioner, we only have 3 appointments. Each commissioner submit whoever you might want to serve on that, committee.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add, and the city manager and I had a discussion today about this, because one of the elements was for the city manager to work with our commission and for Vince Long to work with his commission to identify, so I think she's already started that process. As far as when it's going to start, we talked about having perhaps the first meeting sometime in November, but Peter Kagiyama, who we've spoken of, will be making a presentation a week from Monday.
October 22nd, I believe.
Yeah, and also he'll be available for some presentations before another group on Tuesday. We would like to give the opportunity for the committee members to be able to attend one of those presentations. So there is a sense of, not urgency, but there's timeliness for us to work through that. So I know the city manager's got a process for that.
All right, next.
The next is Commissioner Ziffer on Health and Human Services.
Commissioner Ziffer, Health and Human Services.
2 items, and we've had this conversation before, commissioners and Mr. Mayor, and that is we had a site visit out at the Hope community, and they continue to amaze me as far as the ability for them to help the homeless population move back into a situation where they're housing and job creation, and at some point back into regular housing. But the problem is that there are so many people homeless, and many of them are children, and the problem just continues to grow. I know that we on a regular basis continue to have more housing opportunities, and I congratulate our commission for doing that. But we have some people at the Hope community that are doing amazing things, and we'll continue to keep this commission aware of that. But it is a growing concern, and with hopefully an economy that continues to turn and get better, that will become less of an issue. The other part was our CHSP update, which quite frankly, I think we've had a presentation last commission meeting about this. The big issue there is that once again, because of the economy, there was a $171,000 shortfall with the funds that were promised versus the funds that were actually available. And so as we are all aware, there were some that did not receive as much and others that received significantly less. The United Way campaign is underway now. I know that our city government and our police and fire department and other entities are stepping up, and I appreciate that too. So given the chance, I ask anyone that's listening or watching right now, be mindful that where those of us that have employment are truly fortunate, and those that are in need, we should do whatever we can to help them. So keep that in mind during this process.
All right. Next.
One more thing, and I'm sorry.
Sorry, go right ahead.
We're going to be working through the Change for Change program and probably come back to the commission, I would say, within the next 60 to 90 days with some suggestions on how we can improve that.
Next, Environmental and Energy Resources.
Yes, and if I could ask you the next time, could we list the items as opposed to just, oh, that was such quick response on the part of staff. Thank you very much. Well, as you see right here, the first item that we took up was at Environmental and Energy Target Issue Committee was an update on the on-site sewage treatment and management options. That is, in the general vernacular, is called, it refers to septic systems. This report really did, this update really reflected more a synopsis of the Lombardo report, which we've discussed earlier. But there were a couple things that came out that I wanted to share with you during that update. When the AWT plant is complete, septic tanks will then become the largest contributor of nitrates, 66% more load than the spray field. At that point, which is coming very soon, this will be the main contributor to nitrate pollution countywide. Citywide, we have remaining very few septic tanks that are not connected to sewer. Citywide, that's about 1,200 of those, but 85% of those have sewer service available to them. They just have never hooked up. So we're going to be talking in the future about ways that we might facilitate those hookups. TMDLs for the Wakulla River cannot be met without addressing this particular the septic system problem, and that's very definitely going to present problems or challenges in the future for the community. We also discussed the need to focus on septic systems in the Springs Protection Zone primarily. The Leon County Science Advisory and Water Resources Committee was asked by the County Commission to find the Lombardo report scientifically sound, and they did so and found that to be the case. And they also asked them if it was a report that they could base policy decisions on, and they found it to be something they could base policy decisions on. This is the amount of funding that would be necessary to address this problem is pretty significant. Now, I've just said that most of these, we have very few left in the city, and this may seem to be a problem that occurs that affects folks outside the city primarily, but the fact is that addressing these problems is part of what you will be asked to consider funding when the sales tax committee returns. There's a tremendous amount of discussion there, and that is why it affects you, and that as decision makers in the community. That's why we're having this discussion with you tonight and probably more in the future. So that was a primary focus of our work, but we did cover a few other things too.
Before you move off of that, let me
please.
We have had some very significant in-depth discussions on the septic tank issue in this region, and Commissioner Miller has really gone over and done a very good job in terms of explaining what the problems are and the significance of the problems. My concern is that we are doing a lot in Tallahassee to address the issue. We have done a lot. We've got the AWT, we have very few septic tanks. I realize that we have a responsibility to protect, those resources, environmental resources and things in this region. We do have that obligation. But from my standpoint, I'm not so sure if the other governmental agencies or other governmental entities in this region have the same concern about this that we do. And that troubles me, and that's why I asked John Buss at that last meeting, who has jurisdiction and where does the jurisdiction lie in terms of addressing this problem? Because it is a problem, and we're diligent. We've done a lot, and I don't know that we have the resources, and there are enormous resources, to even address this issue in the manner in which, and I don't know that I want to burden our citizens to put that kind of money into the resources to address what is a critical problem, where other communities are not, it doesn't appear to be something of an issue with them. So we've got to work through that dynamic, in my opinion, to see how we proceed. We need to do that. I just don't think our citizens are, I think our citizens are being responsible. I'm not so sure if those in the other communities and other governmental entities are being as responsible or considered as we are. We need to find out, and we need to let them know. And if it comes to a situation where we have to do it all, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor, because that does expand on an element of our discussion. And at some point in time, I would feel more comfortable if you actually had a little bit broader presentation, maybe during a commission meeting. And it may be that we might need to start talking about recurrence of the symposium that was held about 3 years ago that actually generated this report, possibly sometime next year. I'm sure the people who put that together, I believe 1,000 Friends put that together, and I think that they might be interested. I have not asked them, but that's something we might want to discuss as an option in the future. Quickly going through the rest of our discussion, Kogan grass. Kogan grass has come to the point where we don't try to address all invasive plants that come our way, but this one has risen to the point where the utilities folks are becoming alarmed. It has gotten to the point where it was brought to us to discuss at the Target Issue Committee, and we have done that. The actions were basically that Public Works will continue and parks will continue to try to suppress this as actively as they can, teaching their employees how to identify it so that we can get a better handle on where the problem, how much of a problem it is. And EPR in their educational capacity is going to be working with these agencies to try to get more information out on the topic too. EPR is in the process of developing a municipal energy efficiency policy. We saw the first draft of that, and we've had the opportunity to make comments on that draft, and they are continuing to work on that. Primarily, the city is one of the largest electric users in the community. And that gives us the capacity to lead by example in trying to use every method open to us to try to be more efficient in our energy use. Things such as heating and cooling set points, energy efficient vending machines, office equipment, training and procurement, those were the types of things that the ordinance covered. We will probably be discussing this again at EPR, at E&E, so we probably will be, you'll hear more about that in the future. Finally, the REACH program in utilities marketing. We were just given us an update on how that will be implemented in the future.
All right. I understand that on the REACH program, the Public Service Commission wants to go out with us. Is that correct? Somebody said something. Is that right?
Yes.
Do we have a date set for that yet?
That's being handled through the mayor's office, isn't it? Was Rick handling that? Yes, they actually, the governor's office or one of the major state offices is asking in recognition of Public Power Week that we do something specific with them, and they want to go out and see what we're doing with REACH.
Rick is smiling like it's supposed to be handled by our office. Okay.
No.
Okay, but I think it's great, a great idea. I'm very, very glad that the Public Service Commission is beginning to recognize some of the work we're doing, and they want to go out the next time we apparently do the REACH program thing, and I think it's great. I think it's a good idea, so we'll notify everybody when that occurs. Yes.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I think you had a question for Mr. Buss. Did you want to discuss that with him now?
No, we can do it at the Target issue.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Next, or is there next? That's it.
That's it. We are on
Unagended speakers.
unagended speakers.
Unagended speakers?
Mayor, it comes as no surprise we have two speakers tonight, Dr. Irwin Jackson and Curtis Baines.
I appreciate you asking me to speak before Mr. Baines. I have three things I want to chat about. Number one, we've been talking for a couple years, Irwin Jackson, 1341 Jackson Bluff, with transparency and full disclosure. And in the last few weeks, I've been using the new city's website, and I just want to compliment everyone involved in that, because as you know, I have had in the last couple of years quite a few questions, and it's so much easier to be able to use that system to find those answers instead of putting in public information requests. Even though the clerk's office has been very helpful, he may not see me up there quite as much, so that may be his loss. Second thing, you also know about, I have a personal interest in the ethics panel that you're talking about forming. My thought, and I have just a suggestion, I think that panel is going to be so extremely important. This is the first time the community is going to provide some leadership in how they want and setting the ethics standard to the community. For that reason, I think it's going to be critical that all the meetings of that group should be on TV, they should be recorded, they should be made, and they should be available on the television station. And I also think, I know that there is ways in which people at home can simply dial in on their phone if they want to hear active comments that's being made. So any effort that can be made to make sure that the public can have input in that and see what's going on, I think is very important. Any letters, emails from people who want to try to influence that process, then I think all those emails and letters should be directed to this committee. Again, anyone who's going to try to influence the ethics policy, I think the community needs to have an idea of who those folks are, and I can tell the public I'm going to be one of them who's going to try to influence that process. The very last thing, and again, I think Commissioners Ziffer and Miller and maybe others have talked about it, the sales tax extension, I agree. I think there's items on there that's going to kill this thing. And if you're talking which someone mentioned, a slush fund, the $50 to $60 million. And it's like we don't know who's going to make the decision. Here again, you're going to be taxing small businesses to send my money from my business over here, and then some unknown person is going to have the job of passing that out. Yeah, right off we're nowhere anywhere near that. I think we've got to be extremely careful, because what the public likes is they want to see specific projects. And that's why this worked in the past. And if you put in projects that people can say, this is a slush fund, this is a civic center, we just paid $250,000 to get rid of, then it's going to go down. So we got to cut that way back and identify specifically what you want. Thank you so much.
Next speaker.
Mr. Curtis Baines. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Curtis Baines, 1323 East Tennessee Street. I just wanted to, as I was listening to the discussion about item 9.08 earlier, I don't want to talk about that particular issue, but it did bring to mind an issue that I think probably we ought to revisit, and that has to do with local business preferences and who those businesses are. I think we probably ought to take a much more narrow view of the local preferences, and we ought to say that those businesses whose principal physical address is within the city limits gets local preference, or a higher local preference. Those that are outside the city limits and within the county get a lesser preference, and if you're outside the county, then you shouldn't get any preference at all. The idea, in my opinion, is to force people to choose to locate in Tallahassee and not elsewhere. And so for that reason, I would urge you to do that. And I don't know how, I think we've got a pilot project on local business certification that is that we are coming up on renewing or the end of or something. We might take a look at it in terms of that. The other thing is I want to concur with your comments on septic tanks. I would like to see us, and I have proposed 2 projects to the Sales Tax Committee for extending central sewer throughout the urban service areas through Capitol Circle in the what I'm calling, I think the city termed it in its master plan, the Lake Munson project area. I'm calling it the Oak Ridge project area because that's more consistent with the Oak Ridge sector plan. So I would certainly encourage us to pursue that. And I think there's one other, and that's the Woodville project. Now, they're both within the Primary Springs Protection Zone, but the Woodville project is outside the urban service area. So that raises a whole other issue. And I think also your observations about the potential problems with trying to sell the sales tax. In my opinion, you don't want to jeopardize that with any potential controversial issues that are going to arise, because we have a lot of infrastructure needs in this county and in this city, and I would hate to see us lose those opportunities because we've reached too far. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It appears that we may have another speaker. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
While the speaker's coming, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to mention the application deadline for the ethics panel is on Sunday. And so if you know of folks who are interested, and we've already got some really high caliber individuals that have responded to this point, we are asking the members to submit themselves to Sunshine. Each member of the panel will be provided a government address where emails related to the issues they're developing will come there, and look forward to bringing back to you that final list of 7 in a couple of weeks. That's it.
Next speaker.
Okay.
Next speaker is Tommy Mitchell, and he's right there.
All right. Thank you.
Address. Okay. Go ahead, Tommy.
2980 Raymond Deal Road. I'm here representing the FAMU National Alumni Association. Also, I'm a native of Frenchtown. And my concern is the fact that the FAMU Homecoming Parade, based on cost now, will not be able to go through Frenchtown. And the history of that is, historically, the Frenchtown community was kind of separated from FAMU. And for those folks who were, I'm 73, so during my time, Tennessee Street was the divided line. And so Reverend A.J. Richardson really had some problems when he took Bethel A.M.E. on the other side of town. So that's the kind of history of it. And last year, when the parade didn't go through Frenchtown, it was kind of understandable because of the construction. Well, I assumed that it was going back, and I began to get some phone calls. Folks don't realize that the National Alumni Association is a volunteer position, and they've been calling me about this. And so I discovered that the problem is that the amount of officers that's required to control that area from, well, last year it went from Brevard Street and Monroe Street all the way down to Gaines Street. Historically, it started on Brevard and Macomb Street, which is the hub of Frenchtown. As a matter of fact, as a native, even though I don't live there anymore, I've always gone back to Frenchtown to watch the parade. And so right now, it seems to be cost effective, and I'd like to, based on the kind of dollars that the FAMU folks come in, they usually come in Wednesday and Thursday, they spend 2 and 3 nights in hotels and spend an exorbitant amount of money, and I would like to see that something is done to make sure that the parade goes through Frenchtown.
All right. Let's take a look at that, Madam
I want to add my voice to the, I don't know, Commissioners, if you remember, walking last year in the parade, every other person who got to speak to us said, put this thing back in Frenchtown.
Oh, we heard it.
And it was along the entire route, and I kept saying, the construction, we weren't sure about the completion of the construction, and therefore we moved it to ensure that there'd be no interruption to the parade route. I didn't know that that was a sort of permanent transition.
I didn't know it was either.
We actually changed the route more than one occasion, and I was explaining that to Mr. Mitchell, and which I think he recalled after I mentioned it. Last year, it was due to the construction. But the year before, I think maybe 2 years before, actually, the commission put in place a new policy which has impacted us in a lot of different ways, as you will recall. And basically, we were saying that for parade events and other kinds of events, special events, that we would have to charge for whatever the actual cost of the service was. And for the FSU parade, for FAMU parade, for anything that we're doing, whatever happens on Clayman Plaza and downtown, there is now a cost, a basic cost associated with that is charged. Well, we have been redesigning the FAMU parade probably for the last 3 years now. And I think this is probably the second year where we have moved it out of the Frenchtown area because that extends the route. And the first year was due to construction. This year is really cost. The cost to do that is $30,000 for the time of the parade and the involvement that Mr. Mitchell was mentioning. So what he is asking us for is to waive some of those costs or to redesign in some way that where it doesn't have the same impact in terms of the number of officers used and the cleanup and that kind of thing. One of the things we've done in the past that probably would be helpful to try to implement here was that instead of using police officers for some of our traffic issues, we actually used some of your ROTC.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to recommend. After you told me no, I was going to come up with something.
So I think that helped us out a lot, and that worked well for us that year that we did do that. So there's probably a way that we can come up and reduce the cost some.
Tommy, let me make sure I understand. You want to start at Brevard and
Macomb.
Macomb, and come by the Renaissance Center, then go up Tennessee Street.
Wherever. I mean, understand, I mean.
That's a historic right.
They wanted to go through Frenchtown. I mean, that's.
Well, you know, I have to tell you, I usually start at Macomb in Tennessee, but But I guess the band, well, that's another
Well,
issue.
that's
another
the other
issue.
reason we need to do something.
That's another issue. Okay, I got it. Let me ask you, the other thing I would, this is a minor thing. When we go to the beginning of the parade from the campus, let's not go down the parade route.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
You have to shut down more roads.
When we go to get from FAMU from Perry, we go exactly down the parade route, and everybody sees what's going to happen anyway. But it's you all's parade.
If it goes through Frenchtown, I say yes to that. Whatever you say, just let it go through Frenchtown. Okay.
I tell you what, for commissioners that haven't done it, it's a fun parade. It really is a fun parade, and I've done it for as long as I've been on the commission, and it really is good. Okay, thank you,
Mr.
Tom.
Mayor, just a quick comment. I know this isn't probably helpful this year because I don't think we have any meetings, but this is another one of those examples where there are probably either CRA dollars or Tourist Development Council grant dollars available for exactly this purpose.
Yeah, somebody's going to be talking to them in the morning.
Okay.
We're covering a lot of bases. We just want it back in Frenchtown.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I got a couple of things I want to share very, very quickly, if anybody. First of all, the airport day, or whatever we call the airport thing.
Fun Fest.
Excellent.
Fun. Oh, it was just outstanding. Those of you who didn't have an opportunity to go out there and see the U.S. Army Golden Knights, you missed a treat. And the airplanes and everything out there. So I want to thank the airport staff, Sunil Harmon, Marshall Taggart, who put that all together, and their staff. It was a treat. It was really a treat to do that. It gets bigger and better every year, and it's going to get bigger and better next year. The other one is the Asian Experience. All this happened on Saturday in downtown on the chain of parks. They tell me they had 19,000 people out in the chain of parks over the period of time that the Asian Festival occurred. It is beginning to get huge. We even had people come from Taiwan to participate in the parade. And we had the individuals from Orlando, Disney World. It really is something that, we need to continue to embrace. Now, the last thing I want to...
Don't forget our Hopkins.
Hopkins?
Our Hopkins event also this
weekend. Oh, yeah, this Hopkins event on Sunday.
Very well attended.
It was excellent. I didn't get a chance to go to that, but the reports that I get, it was just really, again, an outstanding event put on by our world-renowned, at least our number one electric utility in the United States, public utility in the United States. They have done a great job, and that was out there this weekend.
I think it was the 20th anniversary of the Po' Boys.
Yeah, 20th anniversary of Po' Boys was downtown. And for those individuals who think that nothing happens in the city, there's something wrong with you, because we have this kind of stuff going on all the time. And I went from one to the other and one to the other and had a great time on Saturday. And then Friday night, I was with the manager. We had a great time Friday night at another affair. The only other thing I want to say on the ethics issue, I think that's a great idea. I want them to do, I commend you on doing that. I also would like for this panel to take a look at whether or not we need, and I'm not suggesting that we do it, but I'm suggesting only that this group take a look at whether or not we need a code of conduct or a code of civility with regards to those individuals that appear before us. Just take a look at it and see whether or not that's something that this panel, because it is a panel of citizens, and see whether it's necessary. As a part of that, determine whether or not it is would be appropriate, Jim, and I don't know whether or not this is, that their testimony or speech be sworn. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but it occurs to me that if we're going to change some standards, we may want to look at how our public approaches us as well. And I would like, if you just put that on the table. If they don't want to look at it, I'm okay with it, but that's just a suggestion.
We'll add that information to the list. We've had an opportunity to meet with Martha Barnett, who has been selected as the chair, and at the very first meeting, we'll identify some of those things, and we'll include that on the list of things that they...
That's all. So just include it as part of the study.
I think it's probably appropriate to mention that Mrs. Barnett also asked that the commission consider allowing them more time. Her concern was with the holidays coming up, that 3 months may be too compressed to get their work done. So, just FYI.
Anything else, Sharon? There appears to be nothing else. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
or documented experience related to all facets of stormwater engineering.